Here I am trying to start this show mildly on time, and then you people start off with comments like this. If today's show starts any later than a rumor, we'll go around saying Jason was delayed from being on his terrace directing a truckload of baby oil delivered to his Mexican bungalow. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. We were late because we're black. Good morning to most, good afternoon to others, and good evening to the viewing audience across the pond. I am your host, Jason Miles, and welcome to another episode of This is Revolution Podcast, Weekend Edition. This is the Saturday free show where we do not go behind a paywall to the champagne room because we brought the champagne sharks. Take that. If you are returning listener or subscriber, welcome back. We're so glad to have you here. If you are new to what we do here at TIR, welcome. If you like what we do, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out. It is a passive gesture that goes a very long way. Now let me bring in this very, very large panel that we have here to discuss trials and tribulations of one Sean P. Diddy Combs. Coming in hot from Miami, Florida. He is my homie, my dog, my man. He's the man of the Mau Mau Hour. He is the Pascal Robert.
Peace and greetings to the chat. Peace and greetings to the audience. Peace and greetings, Jason Miles.
How are you?
Well, all right.
So you're hurricane free. Everything's fine. This is a normal Miami afternoon right now for you?
For now, yes.
Speaking of abnormal, she is the faceless voice of reason. Please welcome M. Tucson.
Hello. Very excited about today's show.
Is this the greatest combination? It's like a black podcasting Avengers right now.
It's the greatest East Coast, West Coast mashup.
Oh, wow. Was there ever an East Coast, West Coast song? Burn, Hollywood, Burn. Is that it? I can't think of like a rap song that was a combination of both coasts.
Right.
Can you, off the top of your head?
No.
I can't think
arguing.
What did you say?
They were always arguing.
Yeah.
After 92, it felt like, yeah. But there was a time when Ice Cube would get produced in the East Coast. And he was shitting all over NWA.
That's true.
It's a good time. Good time to be alive. It's not much like to bring in our guests.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You gonna introduce them?
Oh, would I like to bring it? No. Okay. I'm sorry.
Do it.
Okay. I'm gonna bring it. Now we've done this before on the show with you. I'm bringing in Trevor from Champagne Church.
Hey, how's it going? The first East Coast, West Coast video I could think of was EPMD Big Payback. NWA shows up and they're on the shooting range, but NWA didn't rap. That was the first time I remember East Coast, West Coast.
It's like everybody was friends at one point in time. Like,
yeah.
I
think you're right about Burn Hollywood Burn though. I think that might have been the first video with the actual, like, both of them.
I mean, there was tours where they were always together. Like, I got to know Biz Marquis because I worked on a kids' TV show that he was a part of. And
oh, nice.
And so he would always have these like pictures back in the day, like him and Eazy-E, and I'd be like, "What is this?" He was like, "Oh, we're all on tour together." I was like, "What?"
I just found out that NWA and Kid and Play toured together when they both came out.
I could see that because it was all rap.
And if you look on YouTube, they have stories about it. It's pretty funny. Like Kid and Play talks about Ice Cube teasing them.
It's because people forget that it was just rap at one point in time, and all rap was like dangerous urban music. Whether you were dancing or shooting, it was just urban, dangerous music. Speaking of urban and dangerous, I think we should bring in.
Hold on, check this out. I forgot my tripod. I just put it in the cup. It's a real DIY today.
This is the Blackest Show on YouTube today, everybody. Blackest Show on YouTube. Coming all the way live from the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. Be the star.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
I do want to say I'm very excited to have another California person with me because I'm always stuck with these East Coast Haitians. And
As opposed
just
to
a regular black person. We can go full ADOS today.
Wow.
You said regular,
Not regular black.
It's an extra spicy.
We got
It's an
Team
extra
West
spicy,
Coast in
right?
here right now, so I'm happy.
This is the Kendrick Lamar's dream, right? This is hip hop's dream. The Bay Area and LA together, right?
The Bay Area, y'all don't get along amongst yourselves. So
This
neither
is
does
what Michael
Trump.
Rappaport was crying about in Zebrahead. Like this. The unity.
Yeah, this is the opposite of my normal situation. I'm usually the only East Coast Haitian.
Oh yeah,
On the-
you're in
Yeah.
that's why Toussaint, she found you guys and she was like, Jason, we have to do the show. These guys are great. I was like, are they Haitian? She was like, yes. I was like, we
One
hit the
guy is
Haitian
Haitian.
limit.
The rest of us aren't Haitian. He's the only one that's Haitian.
One Haitian is very strong. They overpowered the rest of you niggas.
Well, Trevor is Haitian and he's a lawyer, and you're from Queens also?
You're
Yeah.
from Queens? What part of Queens are you from?
I was born and raised in Flushing, and then I moved to Long Island around high school. So Elmont, I don't know if
Of
you
course I know
know.
Elma. I grew up in Cambria Heights.
Oh yeah. Oh, so you know. So you're at Linden Boulevard.
Yes, I'm 2 blocks away from Linden Boulevard.
Oh yeah.
See,
yeah. Okay.
Pascal is
so-
hip hop.
You ever go to Pate Junkie?
Yes, of course.
Oh yeah. Oh, we got a lot we could talk about. Yeah.
What is with all the Haitians in Queens? Was there like a deal there?
Brooklyn, I think might have more, but Queens is up
Queens
there.
is the Haitian community in Queens is very old. It's been there since the 60s.
Was there a reason why?
I don't know what drove them to that particular neighborhood, but I know in my neighborhood, Cambria Heights has been like a Haitian stronghold for a long time.
Long time.
And Haitian people are the kind of people. I mean, they're not alone in this. One person gets somewhere, they invite
Yeah.
everybody.
It's kind of an immigrant kind of normal thing.
Well, hey, let's get into what we're supposed to talk about today. Okay, yeah, I was going to show the people the picture that we were showing beforehand. We'll get to that later because that has to be addressed. I have to address it with you people.
We have one more guest.
We're not bringing him in.
No.
He wanted to crash the party on his own. He wasn't invited. He's not coming in. Nope.
Quick question: does this sound any better? People say my audio sounds bad. I don't know if it's being in the cup or the room.
Are you in the bathroom?
No, I'm not. I'm in.
It does sound like you're in the
I'm in
bathroom.
the co-working space, but I think there's too much empty space in this room. There's no
You sound like
furniture
you're in a
this room.
shower.
Or you're being held
Tile
hostage?
wall behind you.
Yeah, there's a wall. You think the
Oh,
wall's
yeah.
a problem?
It's
Yeah, you're
looks like
either
straight up tile.
if you're
Like
being
in
held
a-
hostage, just let us know.
It legit
We
looks
know
like
how
you're in a
violent and
like
intriguing.
public park restroom. That's what it looks like.
Yes.
Yo, I didn't know some of our listeners listen to you guys too. So I'm looking at the chat. So shout out to Dr. Claw and a few others I see.
You guys know Dr. Claw. Dr. Claw is a TIR regular.
I love it.
Why does someone ask if this is the lube show?
Oh, because the
Oh, because of the image.
There's $1,000.
Because you got a bottle
Does this sound any
of
better or
Jergens
just
baby oil on the screen.
I did.
And this woman
I heard you guys doing
screaming.
eczema.
Like,
You're doing
who
eczema
came up with
defense.
this graphic? Like, this is crazy.
Jason Miles.
Yeah.
That's
Very proud of
wild.
it.
Yeah.
Hold on, does this change the acoustics? at
Oh,
all, or
you're
is
just
it the
gonna
same?
sound like you're being held hostage for the rest of the time. It is what it is. I'm not worried about it. To
I
me,
just
it's
love
just
your dedication to take a shit and do this podcast.
Wow.
Hold on, I'm gonna disappear for a quick minute. I think I'll be able to fix the problem.
You know? Go ahead and wipe yourself. Do what you gotta do. Wash your hands.
does the French side in him make him use a bidet?
We do have a super chat. I don't know if you want to address it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm scared
Already.
already. Is it a frightening one? Oh, I don't. Pascal?
I do not know who the Sungondese people of East Africa are. What's the pounds or pains of the Sujondese people of East Africa?
Our opinion on
Ooh.
the people or something that's happening with the people?
I don't even know the people. So
This is an all ADOS panel, so I don't know what the fuck is wrong with asking that goddamn question. They're taking our jobs. That's all I know. Black people need black jobs. It's gonna make Trevor's fucking bowel movement even worse now.
This is who the Sugandese people.
Yo, they got us.
Damn it.
They got us.
Damn it.
Even.
You know what?
McFizzle, boy.
You know what, Dizzle?
We coming for you, nigga.
Just remember that. Okay.
Is this any better?
It is better. Now,
Now he actually is in the bathroom. He's in the guest bathroom now.
Yeah, I had to find the best bathroom.
I mean, it's definitely a much better bathroom. It's like you went from like the bathroom for like the staff to the bathroom for like the VIPs. I love it.
Yeah.
It feels like he's in that little bathroom when you buy a house and it says 1.5 baths and it's just a toilet in a closet.
Are you in a model home?
Yeah, because it's actually the reverse. I was in the big bathroom and had all the acoustics happening. Now I'm in like Jason said, the half.
Yeah,
bath.
the half bath where
it closes you in. It's better acoustics. I can understand that. That makes sense.
Don't turn the fan on. Just you have to sit with that fart. Don't even think about it. Well, welcome to another episode of This is Revolution Podcast, where we explore the deeper political and social dynamics behind current events. Today, we're diving into the recent indictment of once revered hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs on federal racketeering charges. Combs, once celebrated for his entrepreneurial prowess and impact on hip-hop culture, is now facing serious accusations of running an elaborate criminal enterprise centered on human trafficking, abuse, and sexual exploitation. The charges against Combs are shocking, but reflect the darker realities lurking behind the glamour of entertainment industry. As outlined by the justice.gov indictment, Combs is accused of forcing women into freak-offs, elaborate sex performances orchestrated through coercion, violence, and manipulation. He allegedly used narcotics, financial dependency, and physical threats to control his victims, echoing the practices of global human trafficking networks. This brings to mind a broader and more disturbing reality. Are we confronting this issue with the seriousness it demands, or are we only shocked when such allegations involve a high-profile celebrity? While the focus is on Combs now, we must also recognize that these charges are not isolated to one individual. The exploitation of women and their commodification through violence, coercion, and control is a pervasive and deeply entrenched issue in capitalist society, one where power dynamics are exploited to maintain control and assert dominance. These behaviors are happening right now in some corners of the world and have for years. They've been glorified in the hip hop community. It's just pimping. And as the song says, it ain't easy. Is hip hop having a mask off moment with the Combs and Young Thug trials? Do these legal proceedings have a negative effect on the genre or the way it's perceived? Rap music, once thought to embody realness, in the case of Young Thug, is being challenged on its authenticity. It's never really been fantasy escapism, but the unreported news of the inner city told by people that lived it. In the case of Young Thug, is this all a lie now? Is it what people like Gerald Horne and Stanley Crouch have viewed? A minstrel show of underclass tropes? In the case of Combs, the pimp has been a glorified figure for some time in Black urban life. Isn't Puffy nothing more than a modern incarnation of Max Julian in the Mac? Today, we'll discuss the nature of these crimes, the structural realities that enable them, and what this case reveals about our collective attitudes towards abuse, celebrity culture, and power. Are we finally waking up to the harsh realities of human trafficking, or do we still turn a blind eye until a famous name is attached to it? I asked that question to all of you, and let's go, ladies first. Vita, what was your first reaction to all this Puffy stuff?
Well, my first reaction was that I didn't know I was going to be first, but but I will say, it's interesting because these are stories we've heard for a long time. I've heard them for many years, and it was almost like it was a running like joke of like, don't go to the Diddy parties, and all these things were happening, and how he was sexually assaulting young boys mostly is what you would hear about. And actually one of a lawyer had came out recently saying that he was representing 120 victims, and one of them is someone who was 9 years old when they were victimized by Puffy. So I also wanted, let's talk about this also in a sense of how the industry protects people, and not just Puff Daddy or Diddy or whatever his name is, right? Not just him, just how everybody knows what's going on, even people who aren't necessarily doing the dirt, but a lot of people are covering up. So that was when I started hearing these things really come out, when he was finally getting indicted and investigated. And well, really the Cassie thing is really, I think, what blew open a lot of stuff, because a lot of things that she said was happening. And I think when those stories came out, it was almost like, wow, everything's being basically verified that have been rumors for years. So I think that was more so my reaction. It was like, wow, this is finally coming to surface. Something that we've been hearing about. It doesn't surprise me. I've watched numerous documentaries and things like that about these little rings and stuff in the industry. We know about Epstein. Most people don't know about Hugh Hefner, but there's documentaries on that too. He was pretty much the same stuff you hear about Puffy, Hugh Hefner was already doing. And there's others, right? In fact, Weinstein, that's another thing people don't talk about, to me, in the way that they should. And I just watched a couple years ago, I watched a documentary about Menudo. And I know we talk a lot about women in the industry, but what we're not talking about enough is the exploitation of children, and in particularly boys, right? So I think that this is an industry that is rife with this, and it's basically curated to keep these kind of secrets, even from the very foundation of the entertainment industry. You can take it back to Louis B. Mayer, right? So this is not new. It's just interesting that now we're bringing it to the surface and people are actually outraged about it versus trying to cover it up more. And I think that's going to continue to happen.
Trevor?
Yeah, I don't really think about this as a hip hop issue, because I feel like Hollywood has like a even worse track record, or all the Epsteins of the world, or etc. I think though that first off, this is an aside, but as a middle-aged man, I don't know how Puffy has even the energy to do all this stuff. That's crazy. And if he gets acquitted, like, I want him to release a regimen.
It's drugs. It's drugs. It's heavy drugs.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got some kind of weird coke and bag or speedball happening. That is crazy, like the stuff that they're saying he did. But I've always heard the stories about Puffy too, but the stories that I heard weren't so much illegal as they were unethical. Like, that his parties just had a lot of crazy freak stuff happening, and that he liked what he liked, and there were the thing that makes Puffy really have a lot of trouble is that this dude has been in the limelight for a long time, and he loves himself. He loves giving interviews. He likes being seen everywhere. So now that everybody kind of knows this freaky side of him, there's so much ammunition out there from decades and decades of this guy being out everywhere. So I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they just have so many videos of just creepy stuff he said over the years, especially when he's drunk. They have a picture of him at a prize fight, and the boxer fell down, and you can see him in the front row looking down the boxer's shorts. Like this, there's a million things. Somebody might even be innocent, but anything in a still frame you can
Yeah.
make look weird. So like, uh, I don't know if you've seen like 50 Cent old interviews of him years ago talking about Puffy doing very suspect kind of gay stuff, propositioning 50 Cent. Exhibit has stories like every single interview that people kind of laughed off or just didn't really pay much attention to. Every single weird moment he had, and his big thing seems to be being drunk. Like when he's drunk, he will kind of let his freak side show in public more. You guys ever see the thing with him and Fabulous, where
Mm-hmm.
there's an interview with on Nori's podcast, Drink Champs, and he just relentlessly hitting on Fabulous, and Fabulous is like just really uncomfortable and trying to change the subject. Is I think a lot of stuff is going to come out that looks really bad and it's going to embolden a lot of people to make lawsuits. I think this is like a tip of the iceberg.
Toussaint.
One of the things I find interesting about this case, it's not exactly I guess your question, your prompt, but just sort of picking up on what Vita said about the little boys and what Trevor just said about I guess the gay rumors about Diddy. When you look at what the wider press is saying, there seems to be no mention about homosexuality. But when I look at when Black people are talking about this case, it seems to be all about homosexuality and veering into homophobia. Even the saying "No Diddy," which is real popular now, is replacing "No homo." So I just think that when we look at this case, that's something that we need to like be mindful of. We don't want to veer into homophobia, but I don't see this mentioned as much in the wider press or in the actual indictment.
Whiter or wider?
Wider.
Okay.
Well, maybe both.
Maybe both.
Maybe both.
Like a double entendre.
I want to be clear about something really quickly. I was talking about pedophilia, not homosexuality. Just
Sure.
so I don't want anyone to conflate those two.
Right.
Pascal Robert.
Well, the thing that's fascinating to me as someone who was kind of peers with P. Diddy Combs in terms of age is that the time span in which he has been alleged to engage in shady sexual exploits is so long that people remember that this has been going on since probably the 90s, if not the early millennial. And what's fascinating to me is that why did it take so long for people in the entertainment industry to catch up with Sean Cohen's exploits if this has been going on for over at least 20 years? And, what is fascinating to me also is that there's a cottage industry of Black people in the chattering class who will always play it's the white man getting the brother con game and say that, well, this is happening because Puffy kind of had a bad out with the company that was manufacturing his Ciroc, and he sued them. Anytime a Black man gets too powerful, they're going to come after him. And there are a lot of people who believe that, anytime a Black person in the media eye is befallen bad and comes on hard times in terms of public notoriety, it's got to be some kind of conspiracy based on somehow they were challenging the system. Remember the good old Bill Cosby was trying to buy NBC line that you hear all the time. And what's fascinating to me is that it makes me ask the question: is there no time it's possible for us to imagine Black people being human enough to just do wrong on their own, or does there always have to be, the big bad white conspiracy that takes them down? And it's something that causes alarm to me, because at some point we have to realize that we're not all magical Negro superheroes, and that frankly, some of us do evil stuff. And even if Puff's downfall was triggered by his interactions with the manufacturer of Ciroc, that doesn't mean he's not guilty. It doesn't mean he didn't do the stuff. And some of this stuff is rather horrific. Particularly we got allegations of pedophilia. We have, forced sexual interactions with young women. This is pretty bad stuff. So for me, the image, the way I'm looking at this is just like, why are people fighting so much to make it seem like he can't necessarily be accountable for things he's being accused of?
Is that the pervasiveness of a kind of Afro-pessimistic thought that is kind of in even the non-academic world?
I think it is.
It's Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar's
Mm.
pushing that line.
Dr. Umar is pushing that.
Has Dr. Umar weighed in on this? I haven't.
Yes, he has.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
What did he
He's going.
say?
He's going with the Chirac conspiracy.
Oh,
Really?
But
Yeah.
the thing with that is like unlike Bill Cosby buying NBC, Puffy owned very little of Ciroc. He was basically just a spokesperson when they pulled back the curtains. It was kind of a facade. So that I think is a real reach. Like they tried to
Well,
pretend that he owned more than he did, but he
But
really
don't forget, he sued them for basically racial discrimination because they refused to market his company out. His company, the Ciroc brand was being marketed as an urban elixir, an urban drink, and he was arguing that he wanted the drink to reach a more cross section of people who were not limited to an urban audience, and he sued the parent company for discrimination, and they came to a settlement, and he ended up losing his relationship with them. And apparently, from what I've read, I read an article in Fortune or Forbes, their share prices went down as a result of the losses of Sean Combs as one of their stars who was marketing their elixir. According to what Mr. Combs said on the famous podcast, what is that podcast with the guys who push the black capitalism, the young guys?
All of
Earn
them.
your leisure. Earn your
Earn Your
leisure.
Leisure. Yeah, he was being interviewed on Earn Your Leisure. And he goes into this long spiel, and I hate when Negro said this. He's like, business is for the white man, and I was like, man, shut the hell up, man. You've been doing business for years, making tons of money. Now because you can't have your way, business is for the white man. But anyway, he goes on and says that the problem was that he wanted to have his own tequila brand, and that was his goal, and that basically the company that is the parent company to Ciroc was not supporting him enough in his aspiration to manufacture his own tequila, and that was one of the main reasons he went after them. So there seems to be a lot of intermingling in terms of why he did. I wish I could remember the name of the parent. It's like it's Diageo.
Diageo.
Yeah.
Diageo.
Right.
I do wonder if his net worth is an exaggeration though, because I feel like if you're really supposed to be close to a billionaire, like why do you really need these white companies so badly? And I think he sold one of his houses to make this bail. Like there's some stuff that makes you wonder if a lot of, 'cause I know with the whole back to the black capitalism conversation, there's a lot of exaggeration of black wealth that happens.
Oh, absolutely. Even if you are a billionaire, being a billionaire doesn't mean you have $1 billion liquid. That's a big billion. Being a billionaire simply means you have assets in excess of $1 billion, and it doesn't necessarily count your liabilities either. So what's interesting with Puff also is that I remember I was watching the Joe of all things the Joe Budden podcast. Yes, I watched the Joe Budden podcast, and Budden said something very interesting. He's like, every time Puff negotiates a new deal for the bail, the one thing that never goes up is the $50 million. And you would think that if you're fighting to negotiate to get bail, you would offer them all kinds of consideration, but you would also say, well, let's go with 75 million. But the one thing that never went up is the $50 million. So Budden is alluding to the fact that maybe this cat is not as liquid with cash as people think he is, because he's not coming up with more money in consideration of what he would need to get bail.
No, I agree.
The charges against Combs are a reflection of a broader systemic issue: human trafficking and sexual exploitation. It's crucial to discuss how this industry operates within a capitalist system that commodifies people, particularly women and marginalized groups, and to what extent this operates under the radar in various industries, including entertainment. Why is there more shock when a celebrity is involved as opposed to everyday trafficking and abuse of people that occur globally? Does our fixation on celebrity culture obscure our understanding of how widespread this issue is? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I was thinking about this question, and I wonder if it has to do with us feeling like we know celebrities. And I think we have difficulty with the idea that people that we know could be this kind of perpetrator.
Okay.
So we're not comfortable with the idea that, Uncle Jeff has been the one touching our kids. It's often someone that we know, someone close to the family.
God, you
That's,
got real personal on that one.
what?
Calling out Jeff like that, huh?
Hey, man. Jeff know what he be doing.
Just fucking keep his hands to himself. Goddamn. Pastality of. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Toussaint. Did I cut you off? Like a good man.
Well, I think it has to do with our sense of familiarity, and so we're disgusted when we find out these details about these people, and we don't actually know them, but there's a what's it called, parasocial relationship. We think we do, and
I
so
would say more like a parasitic relationship.
Yikes.
I think one thing with Diddy too is he's the kind of person that's been kind of rumored to be a creep for a while. Uh, like there was a good point brought up about the whole homophobia thing, and I think that is a part of it. Like I'm not gonna lie, that is definitely a part of the giggling about him. But I think another part of it too is more that he's a creep. It isn't just that he might be gay, but that he's the kind of person that will like bring you to his office, like giving you an unsolicited back rub or trying to just be really, really creepy. Like I think the creepiness was actually a bigger part of his rumors than the gay part. That you just didn't want to be alone with him as a man or a woman, and so I don't think he was a very endearing celebrity. Like I think if someone like Oprah or Bill, or a case that we all know, like Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was like America's dad. That was, I think, more about the celebrity. But I think for Diddy, it's not really a betrayal of his image because everyone thought he was a creep anyway. I think people didn't really think he was actually raping. They thought he was just more just being pushy or creepy. But I think the scale is what's really moving the Diddy case. Like the allegations have like stories of secret wings of his house with orgies that just had tons and tons of people, and supposedly they went for hours, and there were IVs. Like people were freaking off so long they had to bring IVs to keep you from passing out, and um, cameras in every room in the house. Like I think that really kind of helps sell the salacious of it more than just the celebrity, but this idea that how big does it go? How deep does it go? Like how crazy um, is he like shipping people in? Like talk of him bringing in male escorts to have sex with his partners while he watches, and there's people flowing in and out. So I think, uh, especially in the internet where conspiracy is so rife, and this guy's connected to so many people. It makes you think, wow, how many people might be involved in this? Yeah, someone put gallons of baby oil. Like that alone just gets your imagination running. Like, what the hell are they doing with that much baby oil? Like I'm sure he doesn't run an eczema charity. Like what is he doing with all that?
Just finding ashy niggas on the street. This is for you. Shh, it's for
Well,
you, man.
there were some of, I would say, not so verifiable publications, but the ones that do have like the entertainment like scoops, they were saying that there's rumors of it being drugs in the
I
baby
heard
oil.
that too. I wouldn't.
So yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's, even though it's not like verifiable sources, it's like Page Six and shit. But Page Six is like known for having like the inside celebrity gossip. But they're also, much like the other gossip blogs and things like that, they're also the ones that cover up a lot of these stories. Because what happens is, and this is what they found out with like Weinstein, for example. What happens is they'll give you, for example, remember, I think you guys remember years ago, Cassie and Diddy were having a fight, and I never forgot because I thought the story was crazy and it just disappeared. They were having a fight. She couldn't get her phone out of the house or some crazy shit, and then the story just disappeared. Like none of the blogs were covering it anymore.
Oh, are you talking about that one that was on social media? Like basically, he put a social media post with her in a fetal position on the floor. Are you talking about that one or a different?
No,
one?
this was before.
Jesus
No, that's
Christ.
the one where he
This
was
is-
kicking her in the head.
Yeah.
By the
Yeah, no,
nose.
this is from before.
Oh wow.
No, this was like, it was just like a police report, maybe just like on TMZ kind of thing. Like they were having a fight at the house, and she couldn't get her phone at the house, and her mom had to come get her, and then the story just disappeared. And then then when this stuff started coming out about Cassie, I was like, oh, That's why that story disappeared. So these gossip blogs also will stop talking about a story because let's say Diddy or whoever he's connected with will give them another story to distract people, right? So this is how these things work. But as far as your question, as far as do people not care until it's a celebrity, I think people don't really think of it as real until it's a celebrity, which is interesting because sex trafficking is something that we deal with all the time
It's
here in
daily.
South Central LA, particularly Figueroa
I was
Boulevard,
just
Figueroa
about to
Street.
say Figueroa Street has its own multiple YouTube channels dedicated to people just following streetwalkers.
And it's
on
sick.
Figueroa.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like that content. I don't think it's good content. I don't like the drones that follow because some of those are underage girls.
Yeah.
In fact, it's mostly underage girls, and there's a whole issue around how we handle this issue because it's a lot of motels over there. And how do we do it and keep the girls safe? It's mostly Black girls, and it's mostly white and Latino men that go in that are Johns, right? And so we're talking about a real issue that's like down the street from my house. I'm not even exaggerating. It's literally 3 minutes from my house, and I see this every day, and yet people are entertained by it on YouTube or I see it on Instagram. But this story, everybody's like shocked by it. I'm like, well, this stuff is happening in our neighborhoods right here in front of us. And I'm sure Figueroa is not the only street that exists like this, in the country, but those don't get as much coverage. In fact, I'll put it like this. People didn't even know what was going on Figueroa until fairly recently. And what I mean by that is officials, the city attorney said, I was at a speech she was at talking about sex trafficking, giving the data and talking to the organizations that have been fighting against sex trafficking on Figueroa for years. She said she had never even been south of the 10 freeway. And if you know LA, that means south of the 10 freeway is basically where the Black people live.
So the ones that are left, we have to also add that in there because
we say that, but you're right. However, in the district that I live in, it's still it's about half Black. And then Crenshaw area is 70% Black. People don't know that. So it is shrinking, but all the Black people still live in the same area. But at any rate, I do think that sex trafficking is a big issue. I think we should talk about it in particularly, not just with women, but with children. That's to me the conversation that doesn't happen enough, including in the entertainment industry. We just what's that show? Nickelodeon
I would say this though. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
and I'll shut up real quick. I would say this. I think it does happen. It happens on the right. And it happens about celebrities, and it happens about cabals of kid diddlers, and they're always propping up people like Corey Feldman and what he's been saying over the last, almost 20 years about the trafficking that goes on, that he says he experienced in Hollywood. I think it still happens from some kind of standpoint of celebrity culture, and then I think there's a little bit of satanic panic involved with it that I really don't dig. But I don't think in these spaces the conversation happens as much because it's an uncomfortable conversation for people to have, because there's a propping up sometimes of the quote unquote sex worker, and it becomes a massive tent that a lot of people chime in on that we're not talking about.
Yeah, in fact, I had a big problem with a lot of the pro-sex worker conversations. And this is also somebody, like, I've worked with SWAP. So most people don't know. Well, people who listen to Champagne Sharks know. I worked in community organizing since I was 14. So I was very involved in a lot of the organization and the work that was going on. And I'm very much pro-sex workers' rights, right? However, I think in a lot of those white liberal conversations in particular, it completely missed places like Figueroa. And also I worked to work with pregnant and parenting teens. And some of my girls were trafficked kids, their children. And they had been born into it. Their mothers were sex workers. They didn't know any other life. Or the girl who used to do my hair, she was sold by her mother in the 80s to a pimp. Yikes. She was 6 years old. 6 years old.
There's a dark reality to it that I think, this is going to sound really bad, sometimes there becomes a moralization of poverty to this point where when you talk about what really goes on, people don't like it, and they say, well, you're using quote unquote right-wing talking points. It's like, look, man, this isn't about fucking talking points. This is about people that I have worked with. I worked with the unhoused for a time and was homeless in the Bay Area. So
shit, you too? The Bay in LA is fucking crazy. Oh my God.
So I'm sure there's an intersection of the types of people that we work with. And when we bring these stories up, we don't say this to say, let's demean these people and lock them all up. It's to try to add context to a conversation where we're not trying to overly moralize some of the behaviors that go on.
I think something that's complicated the whole sex work discourse is there's been a kind of gentrification of sex work that has made it so like a lot of people who do the most talking about sex work online or on platforms come to it from a totally different space than the traffic. And I think all sides of it need a voice, but I feel like especially in the left, that's kind of become the dominant voice of it. Like somebody who is like an independent sex worker who's making extra money and it's just been awesome for them, and they've never been trafficked. They're a middle class person, et cetera. And I've noticed this.
Professors out of this.
What's that?
You leave gender studies professors out of this.
but, I don't know if you're joking, but I have met some academics who have like claim to be sex workers, and I guess it's kind of their way of showing.
Don't you want to ask though,
seriously,
like having to suck a dick because the rent's due and just doing it for a paper, very different levels of dick sucking.
Yeah, exactly.
Sex worker. Are you talking about someone who just happens to have an OnlyFans page? I mean, is that what you're talking about as a sex worker?
No, everything from OnlyFans page to actual full-blown sex work. And be open about it, as in like I guess to kind of prove a point, like sex work is work, and I'm like that's a long way to go to prove your point, like to actually like I want to show I got skin in the game, and
well, you want to get published, sometimes you don't get it in my eye
because I nut quick.
There you go.
Wow.
You didn't warn him at all, did you, Tucson?
I should have. I didn't know Vita was coming. I didn't know she was coming. I would have had a lot of disclaimers if I knew.
Hopefully she doesn't come see me in LA with that look.
I'm not a very sensitive person. It's just that threw me off. I was like, this is where we go. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of sounds on here, so you just buckle up. Buckle the fuck up. I mean, we already hit a third rail already that I did not think we were going to hit, which is the idea of sex work, because people get very upset. My favorite comment is when people go, "You don't even have a real sex worker on the screen." Like, what the fuck does that mean? You want an OnlyFans person, or you want us to just go find someone off the street?
But also, I think we also have a culture of glamorizing sex work as well. I've noticed that on Instagram and Twitter, where it's like, look at these fabulous lifestyles that I get to live. And these are of various races. I mean, literally, you could name the race or ethnic group, and they're represented in this space, which is the online escort space. And I think sometimes people are talking about that, and it's very much, look at my nice stuff. I get to travel. And you never see and it's funny because you never see like a man in the video or anyone else, just this one person who's being filmed all over the world.
Yeah.
And with nice bags. And don't you want this life? And then you find out they're an escort. As a whole escort page specifically for this person.
Yeah, and they make themselves seem like serial daters of rich men,
Yes.
Which in a way, I mean, I guess you can claim that, but it's they don't show the full story. And I've seen like people get exposed, and a bunch of girls will be in the comments like, "Oh, so that's what she was talking about," and they'll frame it like female empowerment. So like, "Hey, girlies, don't
you deserve luxury."
Yeah. Don't just be dating for free. These guys got to take care of you and everything. And these girls will be trying to date guys and ask for all this stuff, and then it'll come out later. It goes, "Oh, this woman's a sex worker, and I'm taking dating advice from her, and she wasn't telling me the full story." I've seen that happen a lot online.
Yeah, like this whole thing about sitting in an expensive restaurant and look demure or whatever the fuck they be doing, and so some rich guys. And I'm thinking to myself, what's interesting is that's how the sex workers would get picked up. They go to these rich places, they dress nice, and they'll eat alone. So I don't think people realize that's the actual thing that's happening right now.
Do you guys remember the stories about the sugaring industry that came about in the earlier aughts?
Yeah,
that's Pascal's favorite shit.
I don't know what that is. You have to tell me what that is.
Fascinating. Young women, and I'm talking about not talking about professional sex workers, college age or a little bit post college young women, co-eds, who would basically traffic themselves around wealthy men for dates and be escorts because they just wanted the money. And these people were not destitute; they were just college around young women.
No, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Say gentrification of sex working, like
sugar
that.
babies, the sugar
Yeah,
baby
yeah,
movement.
those sugar babies are like a halfway point to that. Yeah, totally.
Okay. Question, since we're talking about dating, Toussaint Vita, is a buffet a bad first date?
What? Yo, this is like way left field. What? What are you are we talking about food?
Yeah. You get picked up on the first date.
Like hometown buffet type thing?
Maybe like an Asian buffet.
Golden Corral.
Oh, Golden Corral. There you go. Have some fucking class. Golden Corral. Exactly.
I think it depends.
Golden Corral.
If you're talking about like the $500 buffet in Las Vegas, that's one thing.
No,
you're talking about like $30 at Golden Corral for some chicken nuggets. I mean, that's like
there's an array of food. It's not just chicken nuggets.
Okay, so this is my thing. I don't think it's black and white. I don't think it's like, this is bad, this is good. I think there's a lot of context. So, because I've been on a date to hometown buffet, but the date, that wasn't really the plan for the date. It just ended up there. So basically, the plan was to just hang out, drink some coffee, smoke some weed. We got the munchies. Hometown buffet was right there, and we had a great time. So, I mean, it just sort of depends on how the situation. Now, if you telling me, yo, I want to kick it with you this weekend, I'm so excited to hang out with you. Let's, I want to pick you up and take you out to dinner. Okay, cool. And you pull up to a Golden Corral or a hometown buffet, I'm gonna be a little like, okay, brother. Like I'll eat. Don't get it fucked up. I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna eat. Have a great time eating my food, and I will be like, brother, I appreciate you wanting to take me to dinner, but here's some recommendations of some places that I would like to go.
So there'd be a second date.
I said it wasn't black or white. Maybe you didn't hear my statement when I prefaced all of this. I said it's not black and white. Because if we have a great time, would I be like, nah, we never? Maybe he really just didn't know better. Maybe he was just like, I mean, I will say this. At my age now, it's pretty pitiful if you don't know better. But when I was younger, I think it makes sense. Like, this is what's in my budget. Most of us, at that time, you're making maybe a little bit over minimum wage. I get that. But at this age, I'd be a little probably surprised. Like, why are you taking me to hometown buffet? But I try to find out where I'm going before I go places. So
you wouldn't like it if it was like a surprise?
No, I don't like surprises anyway.
What if the date came to the door with the rose that you can get at 7-Eleven?
I don't even like flowers like that. Like I don't like that shit. I think
so. Already everything's fucked up.
So I'll say this. I won't say it's fucked up, but I'll say this. To me, if you actually know me, you won't come to the door with flowers. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. The date doesn't know you.
If they don't know, I don't go out with people I don't know. I don't do that either.
So let's say you meet at the grocery store. You have a nice conversation.
I don't like people.
You don't go to the grocery store?
I don't like people meeting me. I guess the cart, but I don't like being approached in public. I don't like that at all. It makes me anxious. So I have a lot of trauma in regards to being a young girl.
So if someone was to approach you,
don't approach me unless
them.
No, I just will be like, I'll tell you. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes what happens is I'll go places and a guy will be like, "Oh my God, you were so beautiful. Can I have your number?" And I'll just say no. Doesn't matter if he's cute. None of that matters. But if we're at like a festival or an event and we're just having a casual conversation and we just end up realizing we click, that's usually how it works for me. Like don't approach me down the street. I had an incident recently walking not far from Figueroa. Ooh. I was walking down the street and I was going into work. And I'm leaving the parking lot of my job, walking down the street to go to the building. And this guy walks up to me. He is like, "Oh my God, you are so beautiful. You're this, you're that." I'm okay, well, thank you. And I go back to my car because I left my badge. I come back out. This man is still out there. And he starts following me to my job. And I'm telling him I'm not interested. I'm in a relationship. Nothing's working. He's like, "Well, can I give you my number?" Literally. A woman had to step in between me and him so I can get into my job. Oh, I forgot to mention, he also tried to grab my hand, which I found out from my job was considered battery. Yeah, so that's when I went to press charges and all that. So I went up to my job. The guys at my job had to go down there and find the guy and check his ass. Literally, like all the black guys in my office just ran out there and looked for him. But my point is, I don't like that because I've had things like that make me anxious. I don't like being talked to on the street. I don't like being talked to in public like that. If we're just having a casual conversation, like we're at an event, we're just talking, and it turns out we click, that works for me. But just approaching me, nah, I don't like that. So if I don't know you, I don't go on dates with you. We have to have talked on the phone. We had to have had some sort of, friends of a friend, something like that, because I just had too many traumatic incidents where I wasn't safe. So I just don't do that.
Now, you say you live near Figueroa, where we've
Yeah.
already established what Figueroa is and how kind of popular that street is, even on the internet. How does that affect the women that live in that area as far as how they look at maybe even a return to tough on crime laws? Like, we're saying the word sex trafficking a lot. And I think a lot of people don't understand that definition has been changed over the years. We used to call it pimping and pandering, and it didn't really have that big of a sentence. You were kind of in and out of, even if you were convicted, you were in and out pretty quick. Trafficking holds a lot longer of a term, and trafficking could be, I tell you to go from one room to another. Now you've been trafficked. You don't have to be in a shipping container that I got you from overseas. Living in an environment where you see it every day like that, and then you can get caught up in it, like your story, where you are not a part of that world. You are probably going out of your way to dress like you're not part of that world, and you still get caught up. Does it change people's perception of women? And for the citizens that live in that area, does it make them more right-leaning when it comes to the way they view crime and crime laws?
Actually, it doesn't make them more right-leaning. In fact, a lot of the residents, because remember, these are also their daughters that they're afraid. You know what I mean? And a lot of these girls come from like the group homes in the area, or they are just, some of them are literally kidnapped. So I think for some of them, it's mostly the fear of the Johns and the pimps, but not necessarily on overly criminalizing as much as it is shutting down the businesses that are fostering the problem. So the biggest organization movement has been around, how do we shut down these motels? The thing about Figueroa is it's a lot of motels, and a lot of things have been reported and they haven't been getting shut down. So the city attorney is just now getting involved to shut down Figueroa, or to help shut down Figueroa. But other local politicians, other residents, or organizations have been fighting for that. So that the way their approach has been mostly to just, how do we get rid of these motels that's fostering the problem? And then how do we get these young women who are out here help? So what they do is organizations because a lot of our organizations in South Central LA are from the community. They're not outside organizations. They're very much grassroots and home built. So for example, we have an organization called Sister Friends. It's women from the community. They go out and try to get the girls off of Figueroa and try to get them other resources. And I think in their last count, they got like 100 something girls off Figueroa, right? And getting them homes, resources, whatever it is that they need. And they're not, granted that they're not successful with everybody, but that's how the approach has been. How do we get y'all to know that there's other ways for you guys to get money and be safe? And the other thing is they're more so targeting of the Johns, but even then it's different then. So what they'll do, so if you come, what we do is we send out Dear John letters. So if you pick up somebody on Fig, your license plate they get a picture of your license plate, and they send a letter to whoever that car is registered to, saying, hey, this is a sex trafficking area. This is under surveillance. You were spotted here. Might want to be careful. Now imagine your wife get that. And most of these are people who aren't from LA. Most of them go to Orange County. If you don't know Orange County, that's majority white, conservative, racist. We call Anaheim, Klanaheim, like that kind of area, right? Like they have Klan rallies. I'm not exaggerating. They literally have Klan rallies in Orange County. So those are the people that are coming to Figueroa. So imagine getting a letter at your house saying, hey, we spotting you on Fig. That's the approach that's been taken. As far as our safety and women feeling safe, I think that we don't. I think it's hard to feel safe in those areas. I had a homegirl who was trying to catch a bus over there. I said, no, you call me next time. Don't you ever do that again, because it's not safe. A lot of these Johns don't care. Sometimes they're even drunk. When I was in high school, I used to Adams is another street, Western is another street where we have sex trafficking. They're working on, they shut down Adams, the sex trafficking there. We're trying to shut down sex trafficking on Western as well. It's another street. I was walking down those streets as a teenager, and that's part of the reason why I don't like being approached. Is and men will pull up and try to get me in their cars. And I'm literally like 14, 15 years old.
So these guys just think everyone in the community is basically a sex worker.
If you're a black woman
Mm.
and you're young, or they think that, or you'll get these guys that pull up to you and be like, hey, you want to be a model? We take plus size models, you know, and then they'll be like, what?
That's offensive. That's a shitty pickup line.
Yes, it
Well,
is.
you know, in LA,
How does that work? Hey, you don't even keep the chicken in your hand. Don't even worry about putting it down. We'll take your
well,
big
you gotta,
ass
well,
modeling.
you walking down South Central, you got girls who are kind of thick, you know, not necessarily fat, just
I've
thick.
seen the videos.
So I think that's their approach, because your thing is like, I can't be a model, you know, models look this way. So now it's like, not even just now, for years they've been pulling up to girls and offering them model. Now they don't have to say plus size anymore because anybody can be a model. But back when I was coming up, models were still skinny.
Yeah.
Like
back in
my
the
day.
days, plus size is normal, but now like plus size is actually
Yeah. Now they won't say that. But when I was a teenager, that's what they would say.
Is that I actually heard a man say something along those lines at a grocery store when I was in the States a few months ago. I was like, ooh. You thought that was going to be good? Like, are you a alternative model?
Alternative model.
You said that because she's tall as shit and kind of big? It's fucked up, dude.
Yeah, but it's funny. Yo, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, years ago, some guy approached my sister and I. Hey, do you want to be a model? We was in front of a Kennedy's Chicken now. So it's like already implied. We take the girls. You don't have to be a size 2. Right in front of the
you chicken eating motherfuckers over there. Hey.
What is Kennedy's Chicken?
Kennedy's Chicken is one of the hood chicken spots out here.
I can tell without even the description. Just
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you buy bootleg Jordans and chicken?
It's usually run by the Muslim cats.
Oh, it's a halal. It's a local halal chicken spot.
I don't know if it's halal.
Can you get your burner cell phone over there too?
They make milkshakes with Breyer's ice cream, so that's why we went there.
That's not the reason why you.
Someone in the chat said Lizzo has made plus size popular. I think it's the opposite. I don't think she's made it popular. In fact,
she's losing weight. She's on a weight loss.
Yeah.
Right
and on top of that, I think Lizzo wouldn't even be in the position she was in if it wasn't already popular. So I don't think that's a fair thing to say about Lizzo. And I'm not the biggest Lizzo fan. I think she's talented. I just always don't like her antics. But I do think that that's an unfair assessment. I don't think she made it popular.
I saw Lizzo when she was first coming out when I was working festivals back in the day, and I was blown away.
She's talented.
Super. Back before she was like, and no one knew who the hell she was. And she captivated a second stage in Delaware somewhere. But anyway.
Something I wanted to say related to Diddy. First of all, thank you, Jason. He found out the problem with my mic. It wasn't being in the bathroom. It was basically I had the wrong inputs. I was talking to this thing for nothing. It was my laptop mic that was picking up everything. So I was, I've been podcasting for years. It shows.
It happens. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. But you know, there was with the 5 pillars of hip hop. You know, and I feel like unofficially at some point, especially around the time of Love and Hip Hop, sex work kind of, particularly like stripping and gold digging and escorting and this influencing kind of window, especially around the time of Superhead, but maybe even arguably before then with the video vixens that started becoming household names.
Name? Can we can't even call her by her real name.
Oh, Corinne Stephens.
She changed it recently.
She has a real name. It's like Elizabeth something.
Yeah, Elizabeth something. It used to be Corinne. Corinne Stephens is what they thought her real name.
I mean, that's just rough. When you're
even
just
Corinne Stephens was a pseudonym,
right?
Yeah, she changed it to Elizabeth. I don't know what her last name is now.
Yeah, but I mean, sex work has kind of become an unofficial 6th pillar of hip hop. It's become really embedded, like video vixens had their own followings and
would you consider video vixens as sex workers though? I was watching.
No, but I'm talking about the bridge, because I feel like it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like a light was flipped. But you know, I think the type of person that became a video vixen over time started veering more into acting like a stripper, like like in the rap videos, bending over and having the cheeks slapped and daughters coming out. Like at some point, the video vixen went from just like having her hand on Big Daddy Kane's shoulder to
It's Nelly swiping the credit card down.
yeah,
the
yeah, exactly.
That's the moment.
Exactly.
That's the moment.
Yeah.
Wow,
You know.
Or Luke.
And pussy popping on a handstand.
Yeah.
Pussy
Luke was
popping
another one
on
that
a
kind of
handstand.
evolved the video vixen toward a sex worker too.
Can we get that as a sound drop? Pussy popping on a handstand. Wow.
But I can see how some of those video vixens might have been also trafficked. You go to these
absolutely.
parties and somebody gives you a drink and then you have some ecstasy and next thing you know, you're on a plane to another state to another party. There was this one woman who is bringing a suit against Diddy. I think she was a model. She met him in New York, maybe. And he invited her to the Hamptons white party. And then I guess he had another white party in Miami. And she was asked to wear a black dress instead of wearing white. And she realized this was supposed to signify that she is a person that was supposed to be having sex with people at these white parties. So she was also given ecstasy and alcohol, and she was made to perform sex acts with different people at these white parties.
But what happens when one wants to partake in ecstasy and alcohol? Because we're making it sound as if like, look, let's just be honest about the backstage, beyond the velvet rope, what goes on in a tour bus. Not a lot of fun. If you don't do drugs, if you're not there to quote unquote party, that's what a lot of people want to do.
That was Corinne Steffens, Elizabeth, whatever her name is. She's come out and said that she's been to these parties. She went to a Diddy party and everything. She met Diddy. She had sex with Diddy. She put that in her book. And she said that she was a willing participant. You go there, there's trays of champagne and ecstasy. And she was a willing participant.
For a lot of people, trays of champagne, tons of dope. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah. I think it's kind of the normalization of that is kind of what made it tricky, because people keep saying, oh, hip hop was turning a blind eye. But I think it was so normalized that, there's a lot of people who do this consensually. So how do you know just by the eyeball test who's doing it because they're trafficked or who's doing it because that's just how they get down? And I think that is what complicates a lot of this too. That's why I brought up how kind of normalized stripper culture being in hip hop, I think complicates things as far as whether people are just turning a blind eye or not. I don't think people just knew, oh my God, everybody here is, or half the people, or even some of the people are being sex trafficked. I just think that they thought that was part of the appeal, and everyone was just getting theirs.
I think I want to piggyback off what you're saying, because I think that's a good point, T. I don't think I thought about it at the time until you started saying it, but really there was this sort of trajectory, right? Like we saw this glamorization of video vixens, even though Corinne Stevens had, even though Krista had kind of blew up even that scene and talked about what was going on there. But it sort of became this sort of glamorization of it. And then now we have the hip hop artists themselves being that, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. City Girls, yeah.
Right. So, and one of them is involved allegedly, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you can't really foresee things going in the direction that they end up going in. And there's also other things that happen, I'm sure, that make it move more that way. But I find it interesting that is also what's predominantly the musical conversation, even in women in hip hop, right? It's not even like in my opinion, I feel like we're seeing a lot of the sex work conversation and all that come out as glamorous through the artists themselves. And I find that to be also interesting. I didn't think about that trajectory until.
How many years has that been though? Little Kim came out in what year? 97?
Yeah, but there was Lil' Kim, but then there was also Lauryn Hill, but then there was also Missy Elliott, then there was also, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a lot different.
But I'm saying you can name on one hand, like let's just be serious, right? Let's say Lauryn Hill, who had the most dominant year and a half of hip hop known to humans. Missy Elliott never was really that overtly sexual.
She was very overtly sexual.
She wasn't taken seriously in that sense.
But she wasn't eating his ass.
I don't want no 1 minute man. Are you
Time to
That was a dance song.
I get what you're saying. You're saying it
Right.
didn't come across as
That
It
wasn't
didn't
her
come across
image.
as
But
it
her-
wasn't.
she was
It
very
wasn't
sexual.
just.
She wasn't objectifying. I think he more means objectifying
Oh, I see.
herself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of that had to do with her being a bit of a bigger girl at the time too.
I think also she was just in a much more powerful position because she wasn't just an artist. She was a writer.
she was a writer,
producer.
yeah.
She was, and she had been respected in the industry for a long time before she went solo.
But the quickest way to blow up is eating niggas' ass.
Mhm.
My pussy pink, my booty hole brown. Like it's not even.
But that's
There's no
but that
style.
even that's unusual because like she can't rap at all.
None of them can.
No, but what I'm saying that's not true because I think Lotto can rap. But I think
What color is your vagina?
I don't
Oh
know.
no. Oh no. How do we
What-
get here?
Trev, T,
Because
what did you
if
bring
you're
me
not
to?
talking
What is
about the color
this?
of your
T
vagina, I don't
invited
know.
me. I did not know it was going to be like this. Oh my god. Yes, this show is called This Is Revolution. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an activist. We're gonna talk about Black Power.
Fuck no.
And we talk. You asked me what color.
Is Lotto's?
If you're not telling me, then I'm not paying attention.
Okay, so
Not in the hook.
I forgot my point. Well, I guess the only thing I was really trying to say is I think you're right. Like there was Lil' Kim, and there was Foxy Brown, there was Trina. I'm not saying that these women didn't exist at all. What I'm saying is because of one, the internet, but also I think there's just more of a commodification of it. Like we're seeing it blow up even more. Sexy Red should not have a career because she can't rap. I don't care what you talk. I'm not a person who's like we have to censor everything. I'm not that person.
I think also with Lil' Kim, people forget she was a big deal. Like what she was doing, people weren't just shrugging it off, or
Right.
you know, like it was
Right.
very, very controversial. And a lot of people, like people didn't just rock with it out the gate. Like it took a while for what she was doing to kind of become normalized. But like you were saying, she was just one of many choices. You had Bahamadia there too, you know, and a lot of people did not.
We
like
also
what she
had
was
an
doing.
underground scene. That's another good
Yeah.
point. We had an underground scene. So even if you didn't listen to the mainstream, that you still had like the internet just wasn't what it was now, you know. But we had Jane Doe, we had Jean Grey, we had like, there was this whole other scene that existed. Bahamadia was another one you named. Rod Digga, like there was these other artists.
Look, there's tons of rappers that exist right now as we're speaking that are female that don't tell you what color their genitalia is.
And even if
tell
they
you how
do,
dope they
can
are.
they rap? I don't even care. Like Doechii talks about all that shit. She said,
You gotta have style.
black bitch, purple cunt. And I thought I was like, damn girl, but that whole Doechii
Damn, girl.
It's about style, right?
She could trap Grace Jones and whatever. I like Doechii. That's like my girl.
But it's about style, and there's a lack of style because the quickest way to notoriety is shock factor. Once I've eaten all the ass, and that's all I got is ass eating. Once I've told you what color my balls is black.
And you have to keep raising the
hairy.
stakes. And you have to keep raising the stakes too, because it's like it's harder and harder to shock people. Like it just drives me. It's just amazing to me when you see the WAP video with.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, with Megan and Cardi B and the way they were dressed in that, and I was like, people are just talking about the song. They're barely talking about the visuals. Like people have gotten numb to this. Like it's so pornographic, and a whole bunch of celebrities, like the girl from High School Musical. I forgot her name. The one Lucitina, but she's not.
She's Filipino. You leave my
kids. She was reenacting the dance from WAP, and it went viral. I was like, wow, just people are just numb to this now. Like people just
something Hudgens.
Yeah,
Vanessa Hudgens.
Yeah, she was reenacting the WAP video, like ex Disney girls. It's like you've got to do a lot to be scandalous now.
Well, think about there was a time when MTV was like, we can't air the Duran Duran girls on film video because there's women with thong bikinis in them, and now it's like, eat niggas' ass.
Do we think there's I have a question. Do we think there's a correlation between the proliferation of hypersexualized popular cultural music, whether it be rap or otherwise, and the exploitative music moguls like Sean Combs? In other words, as the music became more sexual, did their exports become more wild and more predatory?
I don't think it has anything to do with the music, because if that was the case, then you wouldn't see it in these other realms. Then Epstein, then what's his name, Hugh Hefner. These, and Hugh Hefner's doing this shit since like the 60s and 70s.
Hmm.
So I mean, so I don't think it has anything to do with the music at all. I think they're just exploitive people who are into who have pedophile rings and sex trafficking rings, and I just think that's, and it's easy to hide that when you have a lot of money and a lot of power and a lot of people in entertainment can be the facade and be the, what do you call it, the misdirection. So you're looking at the glamour and the glitz. Meanwhile, what's creating this glamour and glitz behind the scenes is sex trafficking. That's how we're funding this, you know?
Mhm.
So basically, what you're saying is that it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and the casting couch combined.
Yeah. And it's always been that way. Like I said, I took it back to the beginning of Hollywood. Louis B. Mayer. You know, what do you
Well,
think was
that's the interesting thing about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, though. Like I'm writing this paper for Revol Press about hair metal, and as you guys probably don't know, I actually come from the world of hard, heavy music, and it's interesting to write about this music because this was a music that kind of took the acceptance of the 60s groupie culture as some sort of liberatory moment for women and totally just 80s fied it and was like, we are just going to objectify the shit out of women and they're going to love every bit of it. And those days are over, and they've been over for a long time. But I think people still think that they exist in some capacity. And I don't really think that the deification of celebrity happens the way it happened 40 years ago, where these people really were looked at as special cats, because it's the entry level into fame is so easy now. I mean, look at Hawk Dua.
Not only that, the business of the music industry is a lot different than it was 40 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
no one makes albums anymore. You basically downloading your music on Spotify or whatever. I mean, the conveying, the actual business of conveying the art form has changed so drastically that, yeah, you can still make money, but who's really making the money and who is becoming famous and how are they becoming famous? There's so many ways to gatekeep that in the current infrastructure that I think it's we may have more people becoming famous, but I think they definitely have less talent.
Yeah, and I think something else too that you bring up about making money in music. I was reading something that was saying how making all your money in music is very hard now because of the new economics of the streaming.
Gambler's
So,
lost.
so it's like even if you, the music is almost just a way to publicize yourself and make a little bit of money, but you've got to get ads. You've got to do a lot of influencing, like basically a glorified influencer. And some of these artists will have OnlyFans too, and make more money in the OnlyFans than they do on the on the music. But there's a lot of endorsements, a lot of weird things that even touring is not bringing in what it used to bring in
No,
apparently.
not at all.
Mm.
And what's crazy is when you hear these stories of some of these bands in the 80s that were relatively large at the time. I believe it's George Lynch from the band Dokken at the time was telling the story about how he had his roadies had night vision goggles so they could point out people in the stands and the roadies would see the woman they wanted to meet later and they would give them a pass to go backstage. And this is all stuff that's talked about, almost celebrated. And here we are 40 years later, and now it's looked at totally differently. If we were to talk about Puffy having an assistant with night vision goggles to find young women in the crowd, would it be sinister, or is it still fun-loving sex, drugs, and rock and roll? I mean, I know it sounds rhetorical, but I am asking. How do you guys perceive that?
It depends on whether there's consent. Was there consent or not? How I mean, was she drugged before they picked her? I mean, there's a lot of questions you could ask behind that.
I can share a story from law school.
You got drugged at a Puffy show?
Check it out. When I was in when I was in law school, and my classmates, just like the late '90s, was talking. We were talking about something. We're talking about something with celebrities, and I brought up something about Mike Tyson. She goes, "Man, Mike Tyson is cheap. My homegirl slept with him, and he only gave her $1,000."
Wow.
And then I was like, "What?" I was like, what was he supposed to give her? And and then she was like, yeah, but he has all that money. I was like, so wait, your friend slept with him expecting money? And later I was wondering, was it really a friend? Was it her? I have no idea. But I had a friend, right? But she basically made it seem like, but she was a girl that used to always like be in the nightlife, like as far as like going to clubs, partying, and everything, and so did her friends. So I was like, wait, so when you and your homegirls hook up with celebrities, you're expecting them to hit you with money when they leave, and I just found it like fascinating because she said it to me like it was the most normal thing in the world. So I was like, "So your friend's a sex worker?" Well, we didn't use the word sex worker then, but like your friend's a hoe. Like she's
I was gonna say you said, "Oh,
yeah, that's a hoe. And she was like, "No, but she spent the time with him and everything." Like she kept saying no, and then she would describe a hoe, and then I was like, "Okay, I give up." Like what?
That's how they
Well,
describe dates now.
whoa!"
Where the hell did you go to law school, man? I was like, damn, we didn't hey, man, we didn't have no tricks like that in my law school. We just had a
it was
bunch
a
of
Brooklyn Law School, but
You just made up a law school. Hey yo, Brooklyn Law School over here. What do you?
the Brooklyn Law School.
forget about it. But,
I'm walking over here. What do you?
Focusing on the wrong parts of the story. That's the first problem.
No, this is the right part of the story. The law school you go to, did you tell him why is there no black people on the wall when you was yelling at the law school?
yeah, but no, I mean, I'm telling you, like in a situation like that, right? Can you accuse say the roadie that you're talking about who saw the girl, right? He sees the girl with night vision, and then he picks the girl like the friend of that friend of mine who expects money and gets money. Did he just solicit? Did he just pander? He might not have been picking her with the idea of she's going to get paid, but she got paid. I mean, like the gray areas are so weird.
What's crazy about that era is, and this is something that a lot of those guys, it's difficult for them to wrap their minds around the now, and you hear them complain about stuff now. There was a time, and again, this is all talked about if you read these books. I read Motley Crue's The Dirt. I read it in like one day because I was like, and I'm sure a lot of it's over exaggerated, but there was a time when these dudes would meet a woman like that, right? A roadie or somebody would bring a woman. They pick the women who are going to come backstage. Those dudes would do whatever, or they would go on the tour bus and they would take them to the next town because they're all effed up. And then the woman, I got to get back home. And they'd send them back on a Greyhound. Their manager jokingly said in a recent documentary that it was part of their expenses that would come out at the end of a tour. The women they would have to send back to the cities they were from because they'd be with these women for so many days in the bus. And there was no, and it wasn't about like, oh, Vince Neil of Motley Crue is going to break me off. It was more of, I'm hanging out with Vince Neil of Motley Crue and you're not.
Well, put him on a bus that could be seen as trafficking.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
They can't, you cannot, again, that's why these guys get in legal trouble today, because all the things they would get away with, 40 years ago, just attitudes have severely changed. And again, I don't think we look at celebrity the same way that we did 40 years ago.
And I also think it's one of those things that are always that are very individual. Because I know you guys kind of brought it up earlier. Like, is this someone who was trafficked or someone who was consensually like, yo, I want to have a good time with this celebrity and I know they're going to break me off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because there are also situations. So, because out living in LA and being in, the media scene and the music scene back in the day, it wasn't unusual to meet women who were excited about getting to go on the tour bus with artists, right? Or whoever. or going to the trailer with this actor or whatever, right? They were excited about it. Some people came to LA for that. Like, it's not, they were there for a good time and they had it, like you talked about earlier. But then there are also women who just kind of who are caught up in it that weren't trying to be sexual with anybody, right? So
Right.
you're with your friends and your friend might be down, but you're not really down, but you were kind of stuck because you don't know. And I've been in situations that were similar, where it's like you're with a group of friends, you don't know your way around here, you don't have a way back home, and these girls are down, you not down, and then everybody's mistreating you because you're not down. Or in some cases, women get drugged and assaulted because they weren't down. Like that happens as well. So I think that's also why sometimes it's like when you go to court, they have to do it case by case. It's really difficult to say something blanket about that scene when there are people who maybe even felt empowered by that scene. I can't say that they didn't, but then there's also people who were caught up in it because for whatever reason, maybe they were a staff person. We forget sometimes they're also assistants, people who are working in the space, and these women get exploited or trafficked or hurt in some way as well.
We have a super chat. I'm just going to read it out real quick. Let me put it on the screen. Isaac K says, people forget
Isaac
that
Hayes.
Isaac K.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I recognize him from Champagne Sharks chat.
Yes, shout out to Isaac.
So again, our crossover on. People forget that Barry Gordy made Marvin Gaye sleep with his 14, 15-year-old niece to give his sister, Anna Gordy, a daughter. Gaye also gave up all royalties to Hear My Dear as part of the divorce.
Yikes.
So I don't know. I didn't know all these details, but I did know some funny stuff around that.
Mhm.
I didn't know all these details though, so that's a little interesting. And also, like,
There's a lot of weird stuff around Here, My Dear. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of weird stuff
Right.
around Here, My Dear.
yeah,
I hear it wasn't a bad album.
I mean, it's Marvin Gaye.
Right. That's true, right?
Marvin Gaye had a troubled life, though. He had some serious.
I mean, his dad killed him. There's that.
I mean, yeah, a lot of these. I mean, but if we're keeping it a buck, a lot of predators have troubled lives. A lot of narcissists have troubled lives. Like that's. I hate to say that, but that's also sometimes that's the story. When I was working for Big Brothers Big Sisters, I was trained to. One of the things we're trained to look for is when we're doing screenings is looking for people who might harm children. And a lot of times you have to look to find out, have they themselves been sexually abused? Not to say that's going to disqualify you, because that's not the case, but it is one of the things that you do look for, because that's something that, like, even the Menendez brothers. I've been on the Menendez brothers case for a while, mostly since the Menudo documentary. When I found out Menudo was essentially a pedophile ring, most people don't know that.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. And there's a documentary on HBO. I think it was either HBO or Showtime, about the history of Menudo, and it's a series. And
that's
now
why the brothers are trying to get a new trial. Sorry to cut you off. That's why the brothers are trying to get a new trial, because of the abuse allegations that came out originally. It was kind of looked at that they were just making something up. They just wanted to kill their parents for money. But it looks like that those kids were abused for years. And one of the ex-members of Menudo, was it earlier this year?
Yeah.
Vita?
Or last year, something like
last year, made a comment publicly about their father, who was kind of a big wig in the industry.
He was an executive at RCA.
Yeah.
And he was obsessed with Menudo, and he's abused a few of them, but only one of them was willing to come out. About the guy who started Menudo, who was also, him and Jose Menendez were good buddies. And so what happened was he needed one of the Menendez brothers to be a witness, because he's taking Eduardo Diaz to court, which is the person who's founded Menudo. So because of that, they needed to get Eric Menendez because he was a witness. The other thing is, I talked to the DA, and he said that he's went to look into the case, reopen that case, because there's audio of either a judge or a prosecutor saying boys can't be raped. So that's what's opening up the case. Yeah. So
by men?
Yes.
How does that even make sense?
Well, you got to remember, it's the 90s. It's the early 90s.
That's not that long ago.
Well, it's not that long ago. It's not that long ago. But at that time, sexual abuse at all, really, and especially around children, wasn't talked about, and especially not boys. You got to remember, too,
I grew up in the 80s.
Sexual harassment didn't even become illegal till the 80s. Like you gotta like this is like that's just
No, I
basic
know.
sexual harassment. So what
Harassment
I'm
and
saying is
childbirth are two different things, though. That's like
no. What I'm saying is the conversations around sexual abuse and sexual assault was not the way it is now, and you guys
Right.
know that.
Agreed.
So I think in the 90s,
But
I hear the shock, but that was the belief. That was not an uncommon. I still hear that today.
That's insane. Men can't be raped by men.
Boys
I've heard men can't be
raped.
raped by women.
Or also, then there's like men just don't do that to other boys. They might do it to girls, but they won't do that to boys.
I mean, the basis of the entire satanic panic, which a lot of it takes place in Southern California, further south than you, but is men banging dudes, little kids. There's a reason why we don't see men anymore in primary teaching positions. And a lot of that has to do with the 80s and the way men were treated. I mean, look, it's 2024. And if you go to a Montessori school and there's a dude teacher there, the first thing you're like, I don't know about this guy. It's 2024. It's shocking to me to hear a DA say, "Oh, that just doesn't happen."
No, the DA was saying our current DA Gascon was saying that's why he's investigating it because a judge or a prosecutor had said it. So, and it was video surface that said that.
Yeah,
but
John Wayne Gacy had a basement full of dead young men that he raped.
Listen, I can't explain why they thought this. This is what their thinking was, but that's how. But in fact, in one of the documentaries, they had the audio. So it's the judge. It was a judge who said it in the video I saw. But there's also this idea that the men like Jose Menendez, who were in the positions they're in, don't do like that was the belief at the time. I highly recommend you guys watch this one documentary. It's called Menudo and Menendez, and it's about the guy who's suing. I mean, who's going to filing criminal charges against the guy who created Menudo, and how their stories with the Menendez brothers overlapped. And the Menendez, one of them is audio is in the documentary. There's another great documentary. There's a series about the Menendez brothers I highly recommend because it actually gives you more details into what happened. So the first court case was was a hung jury. The first time they went to court, the second time they didn't even allow the information about the sexual assault into the courtroom.
Yeah.
So that's how they ended up getting found guilty instead of their imperfect defense.
Yeah, that's actually extremely important because they're really, if you've watched any of the A&E documentaries, it's like a 4-part series because the brothers are in different prisons, and I think it's only the older brother.
Eric, the one who's
Eric, yeah,
they the definitely did.
He's the younger one.
Yeah, Lau's the older one.
But it definitely, talks mostly about the abuse that these boys suffered under their father and their mother knew about. That a lot of the family apparently knew about.
She also sexually abused one of them, I think.
I don't.
Making shit up too, son. That's fucked up.
I don't know.
That's the information I got. She was also an abuser. She wasn't just like a witness.
Well, I do. From what I understood, the father was abused by his mother. So there's like and the mother was abused, and his mother was abused by her uncle. And this is like this whole, and it's a big family secret because they're like this elitist family from Cuba. They were the ones that they were one of the families that got chased out by Castro, and that's when they came here and they tried to keep this, elevated status and hide all this stuff. And yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Oof.
We have another super chat. Street. Isaac K says Chuck Berry had to pay out over $1 million for a settlement when they found out he placed cameras in the women's bathroom of his restaurant, Southern Air. They found hundreds of tapes at home. Diddy also has a lot of recordings, and that's something that a lot of the defendants a lot of the people bringing cases against him say that he has recordings of them and he has shown them to other people. So
what is up with this obsession with well, I guess I kind of get it in the sense that some of this is also leverage for blackmail. But true. Epstein, Hefner, they were obsessed with having everything recorded.
You gotta savor the moment, Vita.
I mean, I think things were different in an era where you didn't have the ability to record everything all the time. Like recording something was like an event. Remember when you get the camcorder out? This is a special event. Now it's you know,
Somebody saying the Barry thing was recent, but I mean, he is older, so he probably still is.
recent. No, that was like
Old.
the 80s.
Okay, I was going by the chat. So
Yeah, that was a while
weird
back.
person.
Where he had the video of him peeing on somebody.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
Barry
pretty
did that?
Yes. Chuck Berry's kind of a horrible dude.
So
He's like world.
he's like an early version of R. Kelly.
Most musicians that era, James Brown, shitty guy.
James Brown was beating women.
A lot of them did.
Yes.
Jerry Lee Lewis. Oh,
The
Chuck,
stories
I know
about
Chuck,
Jim Brown.
I know Chuck Berry had underage sex offense as well. That I knew about. So
So did
the
Jerry Lee
peeing
Lewis.
thing, yeah.
Jerry Lee Lewis married his cousin. She was 13.
Yep.
Elvis.
I-
I mean, there's a long.
Woody Allen. Don't forget about Woody Allen.
And
Woody
Jerry
Allen.
Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Yes, he dated Shoshana something. Lowenstein. When she was in high school, she was 16.
Yeah, and it was after Seinfeld, I think, already even ended. So he was like,
Oh, how old was he? Like 40 something?
Something like that, yeah.
So you guys didn't hear about this because they still bring it up all the time on Twitter. Whenever he talks about anything, they always bring up. They always hit him with that, like, "Shut up, you pedophile."
I don't pay attention to Seinfeld like that, so I don't know, but that's crazy. I did not know that. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Like the creator of Ren and Stimpy also.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Yeah.
He had a whole
The
relationship.
creator of Ren and Stimpy. What did he do?
Yeah.
He had a
Oh.
quote unquote girlfriend who was like 15, 16. She was a fan who wrote letters because she wanted to be a cartoonist. He ended up,
Oh.
yeah. So he invited her
And
to the studio.
He was a serial groomer.
Yeah. It was sad. It's a documentary about that too. I watch a lot of documentaries. That's one of the documentaries
I
I saw.
actually saw that one night because I thought it was going to be about Ren and Stimpy. And
I
was
did
Holy
too.
shit! This is not what I thought it was. The left turn it took was so hard. You're like, what?
I had the exact same reaction. I'm just thinking we're talking about like weird cartoons and colors and the story, and then it's like, and he had this relationship with this teenager, and you're like, what?
Yeah, that's why he kind of disappeared.
Actually,
I just want to bring up something else about the culture. Like, when like going back to that girl in my law school, and the joke about like what law school was it? But one thing I gotta realize is the culture, I think, trumps everything. Like if you're a criminal lawyer, it doesn't matter if you're one of those lawyers that's really embedded in like representing mafia people. It doesn't matter if you go to Harvard or Hofstra. Your criminal law practice is going to be weird. You're going to have bloom, glow. And I feel like hip hop is like that too. Like the founder of The Source, they all went to Harvard, but they were doing weird shit with drugs and guns alongside Benzino. Like I
was going to say, where's Benzino during all this?
Yeah. It's like, I think because she's from that hip hop and party life. So So it's not like the law school side of her is doing that. It's just she's just a party girl that happens to be in law school, and I think you're gonna find that a lot in Diddy's claims. His lawyers are gonna be weird. His assistants are gonna be weird, whether they're from the Ivy Leagues or whatever. I think the culture of hip hop and to be in it and to be in that party life and to have credibility. You're gonna, because I know some entertainment lawyers, and there's some weird people. The entertainment lawyers in hip hop, they like a short Jewish guy who partied, with Puffy and Little Kim all the time. And I'm like, what did you guys talk about? And he'll show me pictures of himself drinking Ciroc next to like 50 Cent, and I'm just like, this is your networking, and his networking will be, being in these weird places. So like, I would not be surprised if you're gonna see a lot of weird, surprising people mixed in with this life, because I don't think you can really compartmentalize it. I think there's going to be like it makes weird bedfellows, like Jay Electronica getting with Rothschild. Like there's it's just a weird. It's a very weird world.
That was weird to me. I was like, Jay Electronica, who's never put out an album with a Rothschild. I was like, what's up with that?
Well, let me ask you guys this question. how has the normalization of pimping in certain parts of hip hop culture contributed to the broader acceptance of exploitation? You know, in what ways do you think the genre has at times glorified misogyny, violence, and control?
Well, let's be clear about where it even comes from in hip hop. It really comes from blaxploitation movies in the
Sure.
70s and a lot of
Sure.
that, right? So I reason why I say that because I think sometimes it's easy to say, well, this is what hip hop is doing. And you know, maybe I'm a little defensive of hip hop, but I often feel like it gets we tend to single out hip hop as though that's where things started, and that's not where it really started. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that this is a culture that the idea of pimping being something glamorous, being something cool, came out of like the 70s. And I
Man.
think that yeah, exactly. So I think that that's an important part of that conversation. So I don't know if hip hop necessarily glamorized it any differently than I think it was glamorized in movies. But I do think that the problem is that hip hop is so influential and has lasted as longer than people expected, even that it has become sort of this. It's become sort of ingrained in the culture. Because I thought pimping as a teenager, and even though I grew up, you know, around the shit, pimping in music to me wasn't actual pimping. Pimping in music to me was just I'm a fly guy and the girls love me. You know, that's how I interpreted it growing up. I didn't necessarily have the stories associated with it either at the time. I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
think for a lot of square dudes, they don't understand what they're talking about when they talk about pimping. I think pimping is just being good with the ladies. Like I think um, a lot of people who use pimping kind of use it loosely. They like the image of I'm surrounded by a lot of women, but they don't really think about or even know like the actual mechanics and lifestyle or like real. Like when someone like Sugar Free talks about pimping, he's talking about I think on a different level than like some other rapper who's just doing a video and wearing a fly outfit. You know what I mean?
Say sugar free. Nigga, what you know about sugar free?
I mean, regardless of like this idea, because this is where to me it almost sounds like naivete, because it becomes like, well, we're talking about something different. It's like, no, because in the 90s, we start to see things like the Players Ball become a real thing that we're actually showing, and there was video you could rent, the Players Ball.
Oh, I learned about it.
And the real pimps, Don Magic Wand, Mr. White Folks, all these people become actual hip hop icons, and this has been going on for over 20 years.
Yeah,
With just those people.
And that's true. And even that I didn't know was a real thing. Like it seems so crazy to me that until I actually worked with a lady who she said she wasn't in a stable, but she broke down stables to me. She knew the whole thing. And she how her friends and how her and her friends, so she was one of these, she was hood and she used to get, she was in the streets, like in the streets. And she would talk about how they would rob niggas and how like literally, like, so her homegirl, her homegirl's pimp would send her out with a dude, but the dude wasn't just for the sex. You got to rob his shit too, and she would come through the window and rob the shit while he was fucking or whatever. All kinds of shit. Like so, I didn't know this was a real thing. She broke down even the Players Ball. She was like, "Oh no, they gotta look. The women gotta look down. You can't look at nobody else looking at the pimp." She broke it all down to me, and I was like, "Oh, this is a real thing." And I must have been in college at this time, so I was been like 19, and I was just like blown away. So you're right, there is this glamorization of it in hip hop. It was brought up by hip hop, but I also think that I was naive. I was extremely naive. I think naivete is a great way to put it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were. I think it took a while for it to really penetrate the common knowledge of hip hop people, what pimping day to day really was. Even like 50 Cent PIMP, like we listen to the video, he's not really talking about real pimping. It just looks like the fun parts of Players Ball.
I think all these people get a bad ear twisting copy of Iceberg Slim and read it, and so just basically reading the talking points from Robert Beck's book, which I read in law school, by the way. But,
did you go to Brooklyn Law School?
No, but Iceberg Slim it's a good book though, man. It does give you.
Do you believe it? Because you know the story of it, right?
Yeah, well, Robert Beck he does claim to have been a pimp.
Well, the story is his chick wrote it, because he's like illiterate or something.
Right? Yeah. Supposedly his.
And it's like him telling stories, and the
He
woman
wrote a couple
sitting there
books, he wrote,
writing it down. Yeah.
I mean, that's still writing it. It's dictating in a way, dictating it.
I'm not saying he didn't write it. I'm just saying, do we believe that
literally.
it's a true story? Because it became a bit of a Bible, right? For a
Yup.
lot of young people reading it, like, oh man, this is the way to be. And
Oh, I think the Snoop Dogg was the king of glorified people. That's a good point. Because I do remember the girls in the leashes.
That's right.
oh,
I
dude,
can do that.
it's
Yeah.
lifestyle rap. By the time the Chronic comes out, and this is just a critique, it's not like a diss. Hip hop becomes total lifestyle music. Fuck that whole we're street reporters bullshit. It's like, no, this is a fucking lifestyle. Let's sell some shit.
The Chronic
Anything
was
that
probably,
becomes corporate, that's gonna happen. They exploit.
the Chronic created an aesthetic in hip hop, though.
Yeah.
I remember when people are old enough. I'm old enough to remember when a lot of people didn't smoke weed. The Chronic changed.
Yeah.
LA became a style in places where like I'm from somewhere that's very different than Los Angeles, California. And I know what Los Angeles, California looks like. And when I was seeing places like, why are you driving an old school? That's not what you guys do. You guys don't wear your pants like that. Blood and cripping everywhere. Do you remember Banging in Little Rock? Nobody remembers Banging. I'm the only one that watched that HBO show. Banging in Little Rock.
I remember that one, but I saw Gangland in Alaska, and they had Bloods and Crips there. And that's
Hey,
Like-
listen, we had there was a point where there were Bloods and Crips in New York. I was like, this is purely
Right?
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, dude, it was
Yeah.
everybody was trying to be
purely
LA.
because of it. You know,
Everybody was trying to
there
be
were
There's
LA.
no
also
such
prisons.
things. There were no such things as Bloods and Crips in New York when I was coming up.
Dude, again, watch Banging in Little Rock, dude. That was the craziest shit I'd ever seen.
How did it start in Little Rock? Just curious. Like, did somebody come from LA
Niggas
and then move
watching
over
too
there?
much. Yeah, some LA people came down there.
I was gonna say that's usually because areas. I know in the '90s, a lot of Black people left South Central to get their kids a better life and get out of the gang culture. But what ended up happening was their kids were already in gangs and they just spread the culture.
Yeah.
Because I know that's like the story of like these areas like Palmdale and Lancaster.
Mm-hmm.
The desert, middle of fucking nowhere. But in the 90s, my family included, a lot of my family moved to that area because they were like, we got to get out of this craziness in the, in the
It was
90s.
affordable.
It was affordable, but some people already own their homes. Like, so it wasn't like they were out there because they needed to buy a house. I'll give you a person, my cousin Naomi, she was like the mother of the block, and she had a home. She owned her home. But the gangs trying to get her kids out of the gang life and the crack epidemic, she was like, hey, let's get over to Palmdale. And her and a bunch of other relatives ended up moving, buying houses out there, moving out there. And a lot of my cousins are out there starting to
I did a show. I did one show in Lancaster. Whoa. First of all, it is in the middle of nowhere.
It's nowhere.
Nowhere. And that was the first thing people told me. Yeah, a lot of Black people from South Central moved here.
The story I just told you, right? Yeah.
Literally. Because a lot of Black people are leaving Los Angeles. The demographics are changing, and this is a whole other show topic. But the idea of the white voter looks a little different, especially when we talk about the Southern California context, because there's white Latinos that classify themselves as white when they vote sometimes, more often than people think, especially the females. So if you look at the Trump vote, white women, it's not all those blonde Karens you guys want it to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, LA, in the city in itself, is a little bit different in that it just depends on the region you live in more so than even your ethnic group. Because look, one district in the city, for example, we have the 9th district. That's 87% Latino.
Mm-hmm.
They've only voted in Black people. Only. They've never
You
had
have to speak a certain way to the population, though.
Well, I mean, you
You
have to be
should.
able to represent your demographic. What are the needs of your constituents, and how are you meeting those needs? And typically, in South Central, the Latinos in South Central are a little bit different than maybe the Latinos in the Valley, right? So, and what I mean by that is Latinos in South Central, they typically vote for Black politicians, because they believe that the Black organizers and the Black politicians are going to help fix the area, fix South LA. And they have a lot more belief in Black organizing here. In the Valley, on the other hand, which is, if you guys heard about the secret tapes that got leaked by those 3 Latino council members,
Yeah.
none of them represented Black districts, right? They all represent these other Latino, and particularly the council president. She represented the district in the Valley. And it was very much, we're the hardworking Latinos. They don't see themselves as white, but they feel like they're better than Black people and deserve what white people have. So they try to throw Black people under the bus. And one of the things that's really interesting about those tapes, everybody focused on the monkey comment that was made about one of the council members' children. They called a Black child a monkey, which was egregious and horrific, and you should definitely get fired and resign and all that for that. But to me, the part that got missed, because that's very short term, what got missed is they also control the power, the council president, of which districts are going to get what assets. Economic assets are the things that bring revenue and discretionary funds to your district so you can do things like fix sidewalks, fix streets, whatever it is, right? They made sure, and they said, we want to make sure that this district, the Blackest district, the 8th district, which is 45% Black, that it does not have any economic assets. And if they want economic assets, then they need to go ask for LAX. The problem is, if you go ask for LAX, we no longer become a Black district.
But isn't that the problem with racial coalition politics in general?
What's the problem? What are you saying is the problem?
I mean, when you have racial coalition politics, you're going to look out for your coalition.
Well,
why would I care about?
But
if it's me, if I have that same power and we're all Black, why wouldn't I say that same thing about?
So this is this, and that I get that, and that's the part that I do understand. The part I don't understand, though, is part of the people they want to disenfranchise were other Latinos. So it wasn't like they were like, oh, we're going to help all Latinos, even, because they were talking about breaking up a renter district. Who is the #1 renters in LA? Latinos, right? So it's different. Are they all Mexican? I'm sorry.
Are they all Mexican?
No, we have Mexicans and Central American. The ones that were speaking, I believe, were Mexican. The ones that were caught on the tape, and they were making fun of Oaxacan people. They didn't just make them Black. They were talking shit about Oaxacan.
But also, we're talking about a private conversation. I mean, God forbid a private conversation of mine gets leaked. That's why I try to be so open here on the show.
No, and I respect that too. I get the point that you're making, but what I'm saying, though, is that it got leaked, it's exposed, and now we know that this was literally a plot against Black power. What's wild, though, is most Black power, when we fought for that, they were hating on our power. They said there's only 25 of them, and they all yelling, whatever it is. It's not that many of us, but why do we have all this power? Why do we have so many seats in the city council? Blah, blah, blah. But what's interesting about that is those same people were not looking to advance the Latino population. They were looking to advance themselves. So I hear you, and I do think that, but also in LA, we are more successful with coalition building. And so we have a Black mayor now. I don't know if we would have a Black mayor if those leaked tapes didn't drop. And guess who supported her the most? Latino. Well, I don't know.
Regardless,
she might have. I don't know. I'd like to say she would. I've known Karen for years. I worked on her campaign, so I get that. But I guess what I'm saying is those leak tapes help push her over the edge. And Latinos came together. People forget this too. Latinos came into that city council meeting and stormed it, and also said, "We're not down with this."
During LA's heyday, right? Tom Bradley is mayor for a billion years. It's not like a Black person. Black people have had city council seats in LA since the 70s. Black people have been, or Black man was mayor for a very long time.
The longest.
Until he literally probably wasn't cognitively there anymore. The way we joke about Joe Biden is kind of the way Tom Bradley was towards the end of his time in office, which is sadly ends during the riots. Karen Bass winning that seat to me wasn't the biggest surprise, even though she was going against big money. I do think racial coalition politics in a place like Los Angeles is very interesting to me, because as the demographics are super shifting in that area, because I don't want to call it a city, right? Because it's this massive sea of different suburbs that make up what we say LA. We mean, like you said, the Valley, and we mean Hollywood, and we mean South Central, Compton, insert neighborhood here. But these demographics are shifting, and how does that affect the political arena?
Yeah. Well, Compton is a different city, so that's they don't. They're not in the conversation. But Hollywood, the Valley, South Central, that's all the city of LA. But you're right. I do think, and I mean, the problem is because we're only 8% of the entire population.
Mhm.
The only way we're successful is by coalition building and solidarity with other groups. There's just no way around that,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's probably what makes it LA so interesting. We're also one of the few cities, even in the state, that doesn't have racially polarized voting in the same way as a lot of other places. So I think I do think LA is very interesting like that. It surprises me the more data I look at, that even though our population is shrinking, we still have the most power in the city. The mayor is Black. Now we have a brand new city council president. He's Black. We were hoping we'd get a Black police chief. I'm a little disappointed in the pick, but I mean, hey. But yeah, so right now there are a lot more Black people in positions of power in LA, even after those tapes and after those people. In fact, what's even funnier is in those tapes, they said, we want somebody who's anti-Community Coalition. Community Coalition is an organization founded by Karen Bass, and it was founded by her and a lady named Sylvia Castillo. And they were fighting against the issues in South Central right after the 92 uprising. So this coalition is one of the most powerful organizations in South LA now. And so on that tape, they said whoever we put in a position, and there's a council district that was missing a council person. They had to appoint another person. They said whoever gets there, make sure they're anti-Community Coalition. Well, both Karen Bass, who's the mayor, and the city council president, who basically becomes the mayor when the mayor is out of state, are both from that organization. So there was definitely a plot to go against Black and Latino and multiracial organizing, because they saw that there was power in the multiracial organizing, which is why certain Latinos, such as Nuri Martinez, are very divisive. And they utilize Latino media to work against, even the interests of other Latinos. Because they feel like if they're Latinos that are for the Blacks, they don't like them either.
He's for the Blacks. I wrote you a comment in the private chat.
In East LA, yeah.
She's laughing because it's true. I just want everyone to know.
Well, again, South Central's different. It's a little bit different here. So
hey, whatever. I do want to address something about South Central. There was maybe the most egregious crime of all time that happened in South Central. And I'm not talking about the riots or Rodney King. This is something that has been affecting me for probably around 30 years now. And it is the horror that was this young man's hairline in the movie South Central.
One of the worst things about that is they took the time to edge up everything but the actual hairline. That's the weirdest. Like, if he just did no edging, it wouldn't be so bad. But somebody had the mindfulness to edge parts of the hair, but except the actual parts that need edging.
This was crazy. Not the style. I promise you. No one. I don't even know where they came up with this. How did this even come through the imagination? And I like how you pointed out. Who said line up everything but the hairline?
He just stopped. He's like, I'm fine here. I'm good. Like just do a 360. Just go 360 around the head and just finish edging up. He just stopped right there. It was good. He's got a semicircle in front of his head.
Yo, this is definitely one of those things that I feel like if you had like a really good teacher, they can pull this up and teach geometry. I promise you.
Yeah, it's very Picasso West too, man. It's like got all types of shapes in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Remember he had a duck. He had a little ducktail in the back.
Oh, I forgot about that. He had that too. Yeah.
Oh, hey, DuckTales. People did wear DuckTales. I will give you that. They did wear the DuckTales. That was a thing. I do.
DuckTales, Jerry curls.
Was a thing.
When I saw this film, I remember renting this cassette, watching this movie, and going, "There's not a nigga alive that would let this haircut ride." You know how when there's a bad kid in your class, like the bad kid, and you know he really comes from a rough place. Even he didn't have this hair.
He would rather go without a haircut than have.
He'd just be bald.
He just
that's the worst part of this.
His hair would just be crazy. Like he would just have it out.
there's effort there. That's the worst part. Like, that's what I'm talking about with the edge up. Like, having no haircut is way better than, because someone did some work to get you here, which is like horrible. It is like Tetris. Like, this shapes just plopped on top of each other.
And then it's like he's got them tight ass naps that look like ants on a bone too. It's just
no.
everything.
He didn't brush it.
No.
Yeah, that was definitely anti-black. That was definitely anti-black. We don't use naps anymore. We say kinks. We're kinky hair.
Oh, well,
textured. It's textured.
Textured? Well, his shit is textured as a motherfucker. Because that shit, why don't you try to get a comb through that texture? You got to have one of them Afro picks with the metal shit. That's trying to go through that shit with plastic.
Listen, I'm so lost on what the vision was, because it's not even like it makes his head look better or any, sometimes like
it's so polite.
For younger people, I want people to know this was not the style of the day. Like even back then, we called this whack. I don't want people to think, hey, Gen Xers were doing that. Like, no, this
nobody did. No one did this.
Yeah, there was no era where this was cool.
I want to tell people, so if you look at the picture in the corner, say right on the left at the bottom, do you see South LA Cafe? If you come to LA, go to that cafe. It's a Black-owned cafe. They have a couple of chains. Couple of stores. I highly recommend you go. This one.
If you go there with this haircut, you'll get a free coffee.
Hold on. Someone in the chat said it looks like a pie chart. I like that.
That's what I'm saying. A real teacher could use this to their advantage. I'm telling you. Any teachers listening, please be creative. This is how you can be creative and get kids to pay attention.
Yeah.
I would love
Picasso. That's crazy.
I would love to go to that inner city classroom to see that teacher pull that off. If it's happening anywhere in America, you let me know. I will figure out how to get there. If I have to hitchhike, because I have to see that shit in real time. Every time I watch that movie, I just always go, word? Like, no one? Not one person? Like, I know it was a low budget shoot, but still, not one person?
What's funny? Well, okay, what if he came in with that haircut and they just didn't know how to fix it?
No.
That's, that's a hate crime. That's why we don't let white people adopt black children. You want to know why? It's that right there. That is the one reason. Because if it, like, how when you have a mixed kid always has that fucked off hair. It's like, I always call it like my white mom doesn't know how to do my hair, and you just put it with like a headband or some shit because it's just all over the place.
Yeah, even being white's no excuse anymore, man. Because
I was just about to say.
Yeah, white people getting the edge ups, man. Look at that Kelsey cat. Travis Kelsey, his edge up is like there's no excuse anymore for not knowing about edge.
And it's not an excuse if you have children that are black or mixed, because we have YouTube. There are whole videos of these white women teaching y'all how to do your child's hair.
My kids are half Filipino, and I definitely screened their mothers beforehand.
Wait, you have two children?
I have four.
Four children.
17.
And they're all half Filipino?
Yeah.
They're all half Filipino.
And they all have and they have different moms?
Not all of them. Damn, you thought I was out there just fucking hanging out at the Luffy spot? Just, hey, who wants to piss off their daddy?
Were you in the Philippines or something? I'm just.
Are you noticing a trend here, V? Are you noticing a trend?
Why are you making shit up, Pass? I was married for 10 years. Jesus.
I was just 11 kids. Well, I just think it's interesting because it's not like it's the most common connection is black and Asian.
Wait. Congratulations.
Oh no, blacks and Filipinos. Okay, right.
But I was just and I know a few T. That's true. But I just thought it was interesting. So I was curious to know if you have. So you only mess with Filipinas? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's a paper bag test that happens.
It's a Bay thing.
It's a paper bag test that happens.
Pascal's mom passes that paper bag test.
She's too dark. Move on.
I mean, you said they're mothers, so I was just like, wait a minute.
There's two moms,
and they're both Filipina.
He's from the Bay. I thought that was known.
Wow.
I don't know how Bay Area. I don't know how Bay Area.
It's a different world, man. There's not. Look,
Genie
Well,
Mike.
LA is super segregated.
I've heard California.
LA is very segregated. That's true.
California in general is a place where brothers like to dabble in.
Look at this Negro right here. Look at
I
very
don't think
internet.
that's true.
Yeah, it's very internet exaggerated.
I don't think that's true. I think this is exaggerated because a majority of the black. I've lived in South Central my whole life. I lived in LA my entire life. The majority of the black people I know are couples. Like it's not as common as people think. A lot of transplants come here looking for other women. That happens, but I think for the most part, black men and black women are together in. At least
Black love is a real thing.
Black love is alive and well in Los Angeles. Don't believe the stuff they tell you on the internet. I see this on the internet a lot. I see these. In fact, I seen a woman get on there and get on Twitter and lie about an event I was at, and I called her out. I called her on it. And so they were trying to say that black men don't love black women. In fact, a black man got on stage and praised his black wife, and all the black men got silent. And that never happened, right? So that's not a real thing.
Are you seeing someone lied on Twitter? Because I don't know.
Right. But it was crazy because they lied about an event I not only was at, I worked. So I knew what she was talking about. And what she said happened didn't happen. But she wasn't even from LA. So these transplants come out here and they get mad because they hang around other transplants. And those Negroes don't be looking for black women. That's why they stay north of the 10 freeway. They won't even come over here. So they stay over there looking for non-black women. And then these other black women transplants come out there hanging out above the 10 freeway wondering why these men don't want me. Well, bring your ass down here to Crenshaw. And I promise you won't be able to go nowhere without these Negroes talking to you. So I don't know what they be talking about. Y'all want to hang out in Hollywood.
I remember one time on Twitter, somebody came on Twitter. You might be talking about this time where there was like, I've been to LA and I don't see any black people. Where are the black people at? And then people started listing places and like, I don't want to go there.
That's exactly what happened. I saw that. Because I was like, how you leave the LAX and don't see no black people when Inglewood is right there? Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, people started recommending places to actually find black people in LA. And the guy was like, oh, actually, I don't want to go that far.
You'll see black people in LA. I mean, that's a weird thing to say. Like, I've been places where niggas
it's because this person didn't want to go to South LA, basically. They wanted to stay in like the certain parts of LA, but find black people in those parts, basically.
Right.
Like, it's real easy to go places where niggas don't exist. Like, I spent too many years touring all over America. Black people live in like 8 places. Everywhere else, we used to play Count Your Race. Once we left like California, going north, we play Count Your Race. Have fun finding black people in Oregon.
You got to remember too, LA is very big. I mean, that's not even just the county. If you're talking about just the city itself, it's huge. One district is the size of a city. So my council district is bigger than Compton and Inglewood combined. So when we say LA is big, LA is big. Now, if you incorporate the county, that's even bigger. So when people say that they don't see black people, they're probably in an area we just don't, because we are a lot more segregated than a lot of metropolitan cities. So I will say that.
I know New York wants to say hold my beer on that because that place is super. Look at all these Haitians. They all came from the same place.
Yeah, but New York is smaller and you guys cross areas a lot more.
New York is smaller geographically, not population wise.
No, I'm talking about size. I'm talking about physically. So it's easy to cross. It's easy to see other races. Like it's in LA. I grew up my entire life in LA not knowing white people at all until I got into college.
That's true. In New York, first of all, you have this thing called the subway where you're gonna see different types of people.
Yeah. We didn't even have rail lines like that in LA until recently.
Yeah, New York is not as segregated as people think, because you're gonna see white people all like Chicago is a city I thought was incredibly segregated. I've never seen anything like that.
Tucson says it's very multiracial because all the Latino people are always popping the fire hydrant open and dancing.
Oh my gosh. He thinks everything is what is that movie? West Side Story?
Every day is West Side Story for Tucson. She just walks out. It's that Lauryn Hill video where Tucson's just walking on the record.
It's like he thinks that everything is a Spike Lee movie. Like,
yes, he does. Yes, he does.
He said your life was like Crooklyn. Like, I know he does
believe that. He does. It's the truth. That's why he's laughing so hard.
I actually want to bring it back to I actually want to bring it back to Diddy real quick because you know something I realized with Gen X rap people is there's no blueprint for how to get old in Gen X hip
Mm.
hop because Busta Rhymes lost all that weight and people were saying it was Ozempic. So I went to his social media because I was curious. I'm like, hasn't he been losing weight for years? So I went to his social media just to see uh, his weight loss journey. And I got sidetracked by the fact, like, holy shit, this guy has lived the same life for like 30 years. Like, every picture was him being in a club, hooking up with other Gen X rappers, and they're all popping Ciroc and Cristal and showing their chains. I was like, wow, you have not evolved. And I went to this like rabbit hole of looking at Gen X rappers from when I was growing up, and they're like all like in their late 40s or 50s, and they don't know what to do. They don't know if they're having fun. Even
I think there's one example that's different than that who aged well and changed gears well. You know who?
LL Cool J.
Easy.
Method Man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He be in the gym
Yeah.
chilling out.
You don't
Yeah.
have no more.
Yeah,
Listen,
he's the
Method
exception
Man
that proves
been
the rule.
looking
You're absolutely
good.
right.
That is a fine ass man. I'm sorry. That he
Method
is
Man. Method Man.
But do
came
you
in-
have to make the Hollywood pivot though? Because Method Man made a bit of a Hollywood pivot. Of course,
He's
Ice
an
Cube,
actor now.
LL Cool J,
Queen Latifah.
Queen Latifah. She's probably the
Common.
most successful Hollywood pivot by
She's probably
far.
one of the most talented too, to be keeping a buck.
Yeah, dude.
She's
What's
really
funny
talented.
is she still goes by she's not Dana Owens in the credits.
No.
She's still Queen Latifah, starring Queen Latifah. To me, that's kind of like, wow,
Yeah.
you are in movies like Chicago, billed as Queen
And
Latifah.
and I was mad at her because I was a big Queen Latifah fan growing up. I loved Queen Latifah. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing bad about that woman. I loved Queen Latifah. I thought she was the smartest, the dopest. She, living single, like all of it. I just loved her. Then she made that movie. I think it was called Bringing Down the House.
Steve Martin.
Yes, and it
That
pissed
was
me
terrible.
off so bad. I was like, Queen, what are we doing here? I know
And
you're
the
not sitting
culture-
there playing this fucking mammy role. Like, I
Her
fucking
code
hate
switching
that
was
shit.
weird in that one because her white voice and her black voice were weird. I'm like, what the fuck is she doing in this one? She was all over the place.
It was, and then like the hood scene, the black club scene was weird. It was just like the whole
Yeah.
thing. It was terrible. So I was mad at her for years. I don't know what made me get over it eventually, but I was really pissed at her. But I think Queen Latifah is one of the most talented people. But I also would get to your point though, T, about Gen X not having someone to look up to. I think, well, there's two things. One, I do think that somebody like Busta Rhymes,
but a blueprint, like no one knows how
a
to
blueprint,
grow old in
yeah.
hip-
Well,
like, there's no
I
blueprint
think
for
it's
getting old in
hard
hip-hop.
though. I think it's hard, especially since so many of them are black, and the industry just isn't as open to black artists. At least it hasn't been. I think that a lot of white artists had these other genres were a little bit older, so they were able to kind of build that blueprint, right? Like rock and roll's been out since the 50s, right? So there's a little bit more of a blueprint. Pop music is just an amalgamation of white people stealing black people shit. So it's not like they have to have the same type of blueprint. Their blueprint is just society, it's entertainment. It's just what black people just don't have, that same sort of open
I mean, we could
invitation in
rattle
the
off-
industry.
We could rattle off black people that have been famous for a long time. Ray Charles, Ella Fitzgerald. I mean,
Not rappers.
No, because I think Trevor is extremely right that rap does not have an oldies category because
Yeah,
for so
exactly.
long we looked at it as a young people's game. And I think there's been a change in hip hop over the last like 15 years or so where you can stay in it longer. That's very, I haven't heard anybody really talk about it, like why a Drake can stay popular for so. Kanye is a year older than me, and he's still relevant to a certain degree. We're talking about Puffy, who's in his 50s.
People would still get excited if Jay-Z dropped an album.
Jay-Z is still
Jay-Z
talked
is-
about as one of the
Jay-Z's
greats.
my age. Jay-Z's almost 55.
Like there's a lot of older rappers, and older rappers kind of died out in the 90s when, to Trevor's point, the Gen Xers came in, the quote unquote golden era of hip hop with the Tribes and the De La's and
And the
these
pre-Gen
younger
X rappers never got that big, so I think they weren't really visible like the way these people are now. Like
Love
they didn't
Bug-
have MTV. I mean, until '84, hip hop doesn't really have a serious record until Run DMC's self-titled. If you really think about it, there's singles that are released, but until Run DMC
First
drops
big
that first
album
record,
is Raising
86,
Hell.
Raising Hell.
Raising
Yeah.
Hell.
Do you think ageism in hip hop is the most severe in comparison to other genres? This is
I think it used to exist. I don't think it exists anymore. And I think you're starting to see older rappers, the Gen X rappers, say, well, let's go on a tour because nostalgia sells more than the new stuff. If you see the numbers of these people that are having to cancel tours that are younger artists, it's because there's a different relationship people have to streaming music and buying music. It's just what it is.
That's a fact.
And as the streaming numbers are used for sales, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and everyone's trying to figure out who's really popular. But you know what's always popular? A proven commodity. And a proven commodity, like Diggable Planets went on tour because it was 30 years since their 94 record Blowout Comb, and they did a big 30-year tour. They definitely weren't doing arenas, but I don't know if they ever really did arenas when they were.
They probably did theaters.
They did do theaters. They did theaters. They did like 2 circles around the U.S., and I think they did some shows overseas.
I'm mad I missed it because I love Diggable Planets. I still listen to Blowout Comb.
Right, it's a great record, but I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. When we think about this era of hip hop, the quote unquote golden era, another reason why it's so popular is this is the first time that hip hop is going to be on. It becomes pop music, especially after the Chronic drops, and we get it on MTV not just in a 1-hour block, but we get it throughout the day. And then you have other channels like BET, and if you live like somewhere where I live, where we had like a local affiliate, this channel called Soul Beat. So we were getting a lot of hip hop in a way that the earlier Pascal's generation didn't get it. All you had was Run DMC, and then the singles from people like Big Daddy and all these other cats. And you had to
88 was a big year for hip hop.
Oh yeah, it was huge.
It was a you know, you had Rakim, you had Run DMC, and DMC was in 86. You had
Raps is on 12 hours a week.
Yeah. I mean, hip hop had been on the radio in New York since about 83, 84. Maybe even earlier than that. Chuck D came out.
Mr. Magic, Red Alert, all that stuff.
Yep.
I mean, but think about those early rap records. A lot of it was singles.
A lot of it was singles.
And a lot of people thought rap was a passing fad. So there was like Rappin' Rodney and all this other kind of silly, the Fat Boys.
Yeah.
I think
the
Fat Boys is very revisionist. Fat Boys were, I mean, they were in Crush Groove the movie. Like they were considered credible. Like hindsight is very tricky with that stuff. Like no one admits to liking the Fat Boys, but the Fat Boys were actually a credible act at the time. And those novelty records, people did take them seriously, like the Ha, Rappin' Duke, and all that stuff. It's kind of a joke now, but everything was a single back then. So the novelty record single wasn't, that much different than Slick Rick the Show. That borders on a novelty.
Yeah. No, I agree.
When you hear it for the first time.
But I think that's why a younger generation that didn't grow up with that, unless you're really looking for that and really want to have, it's hard to listen to that stuff if you've never heard it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because sometimes I'm trying to go back and listen to, even when I was like in my 20s and I wanted to go back and listen to older hip hop that I hadn't listened to before, like OC or whoever, I would also find this other shit that I would be like, what the hell? How is I listening to this?
There was a lot of stuff. So another thing people forget is the album is a creation of the industry to make more money. Right, because they used to release singles. It was like, what if we just took all the singles, put it on one thing, and we can charge them $5 for it instead of 35 cents? So that's where the album comes from. And people forget the overproduction of all genres of music with really horrible records changes so drastically in the iTunes era. Once the iTunes era comes out, and it's like we can hear it and decide if we want to buy the single or the whole thing. I'm not buying this whole album full of filler. There was a lot of filler hip
Yeah.
hop records. Someone name me a non-single off the first Daz Effects album. Name me a non-single off the first
Well,
UNC.
Daz Effects was
Oh.
garbage. I'm one of the people who everybody gets mad at me when I say this. I fucking hate Daz Effects.
Daz
I,
What are you wiggity wiggity
Daz Effects
saying?
was great.
I-
Daz
they
That's
were
the
Effects
fix had the
horrible.
they had the beat.
Yeah,
And you know what's funny? As a child, when they would come on, I was excited about it as a kid, and then I listened to it again as an adult. I said, "God, this is a headache."
And Jason, I could name non-singles off the Daz Effects. There's only 10. There's only 10 songs. Clap your hands.
Yeah,
Clap your hands was
name a
one.
non-single.
Clap your hands was one. Last song on the album. It's the last song on the album. It had
Very
that Big
nice.
Daddy. It had that Big Daddy Kane. Ain't no half stepping beat. I'm gonna tell you where the pillow came from. Rap was started with cassettes and vinyl. Vinyl only has a certain amount of space. That's why when you see CDs of old records, there's always like 10 bonus tracks of alternate takes. You know, if you get like an old like Iggy Pop record, like there'll be like 20 alternate takes, like the stuff they threw out, because CDs fit a lot more music. So all those old records were like 40 minutes long, an hour long at most. An hour was pushing it because you can only fit so much space on those things. So it
They're
gave
trying to
the
make it those
impression,
double CDs when they couldn't fit it all.
yeah, it's like giving the impression of less filler. But once the CDs started happening, the industry started feeling the pressure to fill it with music. So you started having 20-track albums, skits, all that stuff. So, but I bet you most albums still had about 30 to 40 minutes of good music.
We do a music show here where we examine some music journalists said these are the 15 greatest years of music, right? And so we've been examining these years, and as a bonus, because this actually is listed as a music show, I make a playlist on Spotify of every single album of that year I can find. I put one song of that. And a lot of these records, I don't know who they are. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know every album that came out in 1979. But in listening to these songs and these albums, I'm like, man, a lot of these records fucking sucked. Like, there's a lot of trash that came out in the post, because there's the album era that really hits in like 66, 67, where these guys are trying to make art. And then there's like, look, just do a bunch of blow and let's shit out a record as long as we got a single, we're good era. And there's a, bless Michael Jackson and Prince and these people that made like classic records. And some of the, like, I love Low End Theory. It's one of my favorite records. 93 Till Infinity. Is there a better sample than 93 Till Infinity? Right?
Yeah,
like
I like the sample in Dead Presidents, but
Thriller's 42 minutes long. It's like a little bit longer than a sitcom. It's,
Yeah. No, and look, we loved those records. The Fugees, The Score.
Oh, brilliant.
Great album.
And I'm a person who hates skits, but I actually like that.
But it was done so well in that
but
record.
I do.
Right?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's one of the few
Great
albums I'll listen
Nah,
to.
Wu-Tang has great skits, man.
They're not bad. They're not
Torture,
bad skits.
motherfucker.
They're classic. They're classic. I'm not gonna say they're not classic. I'm not a fan of skits. I want to get to the music. I don't really need all
90% of skits are bad. Like,
I just skip them.
There's like 5 albums of great skits. Like,
The most
like
aggravating
De La Soul
thing-
is Dead, which started it all.
36 Chambers has great skits.
The worst
Wu-Tang
thing
is
is
great
when the skits aren't their own track and I can't skip it.
Thanks, Wu-Tang. That's why she hates Wu-Tang.
No.
Totally
First
did
off,
that
let's
shit.
be clear. I
No,
love
she doesn't hate
Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang.
I love Wu-Tang.
Do you like Molly Wop the Sous Chef?
Stop it.
Why is this happening? What show is this?
Why is
Where-
this?
This is the revolution. Where was the revolution? Talk about the revolution. Let's talk about Dead Prez. Remember that? Remember Dead Prez?
I actually played on the Dead Prez song.
What'd you do?
Take that. I play guitar.
Oh, which song? Oh,
I gotta find it.
Is it Hell Yeah? No. Oh.
No, I gotta find it.
Yeah, if you
I
was on
found
Pimp
it.
the
But I
System-
can't play it on the show because if I do, they'll pull it down.
Oh.
It was Dead Prez and another group from the Boston area actually called the Foundation, I believe. A friend of mine was doing some production in Boston, and when we were in the Bay Area, he had asked me to record some guitar stuff, and I recorded some guitar stuff, and it's on this song with Dead Prez.
So you
So
tried
take it-
to.
so take that.
Me being a fan, it wasn't enough. You had to be like, "Well, I'm on the album."
Yeah,
I got
take that. Take that.
No, but I do love Deprez. But I'm just saying you throwing me off. But I it's just I don't like skits like that. And after you hear them the first few
the
times,
skits can be really annoying.
And-
The Far
and-
Side. Someone said the Far Side.
I
Far
think
Side
the
had great skits.
novelty is cool, like when the first couple of times you listen to it, but then after a while, it's like I just want to get to my song. So I think that's, and I love the Far Side. That's another group I love. I do love the Far Side.
Do you see the Far
Side
Side in your neighborhood?
How do I see them in the neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
No, I've seen Fat Lip though at an event. He was one of those artists that tried to get at me.
He's one of the black people you was
He
talking
was
about
saying,
below
like,
the
are you
10.
going to the next? Like, are you going to
He
the
was
party?
one of the black people.
He was like, "Are you going? Are you going?" Because he was at an event at UCLA years ago, and he was perform. He had performed, but no. First of all, we were tricked. It said it was going to be the Far Side, and it was just Fat Lip.
The Far Side had, to me, they had great skits. They had a great thing going on. Like as music became more visual in the 80s,
they were very
it
talented.
took everybody a while to figure it out. And I feel like those groups really figured it out in this way that music's gonna stick with you forever. Because there's a way that you just listen to everybody when we talk about a group that we all like. We all fucking, our faces all light up. As someone that's worked in live music recently, when a lot of the younger rappers came out, the vibe that you got wasn't the same, and people didn't show up like cats think. They don't sell a lot of tickets. They really don't. The streamers.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I feel like when I was coming up, the pre-streaming, I mean, these shows would be packed. Like, it would be sold out. There'd be, I mean, even underground. People would talk. Remember, people would talk shit about underground rappers.
I've been to,
and they would be like, "Their rappers are so underground. Rappers are broke. Those broke rap." And I'd be like, I know a few of them, and they're millionaires. Like, I don't think you understand how much money these underground artists, quote unquote underground artists, were making touring at these theaters pre-streaming because they Immortal Technique's
the
a perfect
distribution
example.
deals. I had a friend that ran a distro company in SoCal, and the payouts some of those dudes got. I got to go to a Project Blowed back in the day. Are you old enough to remember Project Blowed?
I know Project Blowed. My homie used to DJ. Shout out to Tommy Black. Shout out to Devious.
I went to a Project Blowed, and it was more cool after the show because there's a group from, I believe they're from South Central, and they're called the Chillin' Villain Empire, and they never really blew up. And they had a rapper named, oh God, something to do with a gun. I can't think of his name right now, top of my head. It's immediate. But Rifleman.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, these niggas was spitting, and their whole thing is like their freeze was all off the top, and they were just using props to rap. It was more fun outside of the show watching the freestyle circle than it was even like going to the show watching the whole thing. And that aspect, I'm sure somewhere in the world it still exists, but to your point, everything was extremely different when people bought music, and those guys made a good amount of money.
Yeah, Medusa is another example. She was a part of Freestyle Fellowship.
So good.
People will travel till this day, and she's older. People will travel wherever she's at. Like, so she's in the Inland Empire, which is like an hour and some change outside of LA. They will drive from LA over just to hear her perform. They will wait. I was at a show. It was a big show. I want to say Joel Santana was there, which is kind of random, but it was like Immortal Technique and a bunch of other rappers. A big event out in the Inland Empire. And afterwards, I was upset because Medusa wasn't on the main stage. She was at the after party event, right? Inside the bar. When I say that bar was packed, this is after the entire festival was over. They packed that place out to hear Medusa because Medusa is that great. And then she brought up these other women who were fucking dynamic. Like, they were crazy. So yeah, that whole feeling of hip hop culture, I don't even think it's the same, because it was like I was in high school and college going to Project Blowed, going to the various events we have in the city, and it was like, it was a part of like what we did. Like, it was just like, oh, you going to Lamert Park? Yeah, I'm going to Lamert Park. And, they're having bananas this weekend. They having whatever this weekend, or and it was on a Thursday night, whatever. Like, it was just a part of the culture, the scene, the underground scene. They were making money. My whole thing was this: like, even if at that time they were making only $100,000 a year, that's more than you made at a regular job.
Hell yeah.
And you got to do what you love and be a local celebrity. Like that to me is the ticket. I don't even know if they can do that the same anymore.
No, there's no. A lot of those distro companies are gone because again, the streaming changed everything, and you can't really tour and make that kind of money. Hip hop's different than a band, right? Because A, you don't need to bring gear, that's huge, and B, you don't need to have a lot of people. So if you're a solo artist and you're getting paid $400 a night, that's all you. But you have to get $400 a night. You're probably playing in a decent sized room that probably holds anywhere between 500 to 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to sell a lot of merchandise. So you might have to bring someone to do that, or you're doing it yourself, depending on who you are. So, the cost benefit to touring with a new era of not just streaming, but people that can make more money on YouTube, doing stuff on YouTube, i.e. podcasting. Joe Budden isn't really in a hurry to make a record because he's going to make a ton more money talking about making records than he is trying to get out on the road, playing a show. He can make more money doing a live podcast than he can going out and doing a musical tour with way less overhead.
I'm actually sad because AZ canceled his stop in LA, and I'm wondering because I had bought tickets. Not only did I get tickets, somebody even bought me tickets for the meet and greet, all this, because I'm a huge AZ fan. Like, I love AZ, and I've never gotten a chance to see him live. And he ended up canceling because I'm wondering if it's because one, I don't think he did a lot of great promo. Like, there wasn't much promo about his tour. But it got canceled. I think people didn't buy enough tickets, and that makes me sad because AZ is a classic act.
Let's make a public service announcement for most people that don't understand how live music works. There's a thing called walk up, and there's a thing called pre-sale. So whenever you see someone, I don't care what it is, okay, if it's an artist, music artist, or a live podcast, when they say, "Hey, I'm doing a thing," and you go, "I'll buy a ticket at the door," that affects sometimes, more often than you think, if that event can happen. Because if the pre-sale numbers are low, they're going to look at you and go, well, do you have a history here of a big walk-up? And if the artist hasn't been in the region in a long time, they're going to go, look, man, your pre-sale is only at 20%. And even if you had another 20% walk-up, this isn't going to make any money. It's not going to cover the cost. And it's not worth it, so don't go. So it's very important, if you really want to support an artist, to buy the ticket beforehand. And you're going to pay more money at the door 9 times out of 10 anyway.
Listen, not only did I buy my ticket, I blocked off work. I said I wasn't going to work that day because I got to get cute. I got to meet AZ. I was not playing. And somebody said Sky Zoo. Funny enough, Sky Zoo did a show here, and he actually kept his show. He promoted it. And I went. It was a good show. But yeah, I feel like I think that's a good point. These young people don't know, like the ticket sales. You gotta buy them ahead of time.
So important. It's so important.
And to get back to the skit thing, somebody mentioned Little Brother has good skits, so that's my exception. I do like Little Brother skits.
So somebody in the chat said something I thought I forgot till they said it. The amount of sexual skits on CDs in the 90s was crazy. I never thought about it before, but you're right. There were just a lot of sex noise skits.
Oh my God! I Biggie. Oh my God!
Biggie Smalls.
Biggie's the worst.
Oh, and
I did not like
Big
the first
Pun.
Biggie record.
Big Pun too. He had one. He was like, "Oh my God!" I don't want to repeat. I was so embarrassed because I'm playing it in my car with my mom.
Earlier on,
Because I'm playing it. So when I was a kid, I grew up in a very religious household, right?
So
Kojic? Yes, Pentecostal. But it was even worse because it was a cult. So it was a prophet. We had to obey all kinds of shit. So anyway.
Oh, was it? Wait. Was it the one they did the documentary on?
No, there's no documentary on it.
Are you sure?
They never got exposed. Because the man died. It never got exposed. It was on. I can tell you, it was on Vermont, and it's on Vermont and Imperial. The church is still there. His wife, he died. His wife is now the prophetess. Imperial in Vermont, Southside Christian Palace. If anybody's interested. Anyway,
I was just real quick. Those Kojic churches can sing.
High
Okay.
five.
At
That
any
is
rate,
crazy. That
at
is
any
crazy
rate,
how you say.
at any rate, so I grew up in a religious household. My dad was very strict, and I couldn't listen to certain music except when I went to go visit my mother. My mother, I didn't live with my mother, so I would go visit her, and I was allowed to listen to whatever I wanted. My mother wasn't religious, so I remember putting in which was exciting because it's like, okay, I'm in the car, I get to play what I want. I don't have to worry about my dad saying some shit. I put in Big Pun, and there's this skit.
Mm.
Oh my God. And it was like him and two women. And he's like, watch me eat her pussy. And I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my God. I wanted to die. I was like, what are you listening to? I was like, oh my God. So just saying, though you're right, the 90s was scary because it was like, I didn't even know what to play in the car sometimes.
I don't think these kids, because what's so funny? Because Pascal, I think early on said they don't make albums anymore. And there's something about making the skit because the songs have to flow. Let's do a skit here. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of skits either, outside of like De La's first couple records. It is interesting that we're just so done with the idea of a record because it is kind of a dinosaur thing in the era of streaming. That we're never going to really have to hear skits again. I can't picture these kids doing skits. Why would they want to do skits?
They don't even believe in sequencing. I saw an interview with this girl. I saw an interview with this girl, Pink Pantheress. She's from the UK, I think. And she's like some girl who started making beats in her room. And I guess the complaint was that her songs were too short. And she finally dropped an album. And because the song's like 2 minutes or a minute and a half or something. Finally drops an album. And her fans, the critics and her fans are like, girl, what is this? Like, these songs are out of order. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And she said, I don't understand the sequencing thing. You just play the song if you like it. Listen, if you don't, skip it. Like, she didn't even like the idea of crafting an album didn't even make sense to her.
Trash. Have you seen this thing? But Trevor, have you seen this thing where they call it punch? So punching in, for those that don't know, when you're recording something, let's say I'm doing a vocal take and I fuck up and they go, you're a little pitchy. We're going to punch you in at the end of this line. Finish it. Okay. You start singing. They cue you to punch in. You sing your thing. And they were like, rappers are punching in now. These are called punch-in rappers. And my first thought was, I don't understand what that means.
Punch in the whole verse.
The whole song. So that's not punching in. That's just, so what these rappers do, because, the whole Jay-Z thing where he's like, I don't write my rhymes. So now nobody wants to write their rhymes. So they'll have a beat and they'll hear the beat and they'll be like, no minute. Hose goes. And then they'll they'll punch in these other words. And it's just random nonsense.
Well, what you'll find now, especially with AI, and you can do this for podcasts, you can do this whatever.
Yes.
You can just write it in, and the AI would take you. So basically, you give it a sample of your voice, and you just write it in, and it'll say what it'll sound just like you saying the words. And so I think you're gonna have a lot of artists who are just gonna do that. Like, they don't even have to actually have breath control. They don't have to actually know how to do any of that because they'll just do their sample. The AI will fill in the rest. You know what I mean? So I think the same skill set, which is also probably why people aren't buying tickets to these shows. These people can't perform. We're seeing their clips all online. And like, I watched, what's that girl, Ice Spice? I watched that girl, Saweetie. I watched, I can't think of some of these guys' names. But anyway, these people, I watch these clips, I'm like, God, these are terrible performers. Because remember, back in none of them blew up online. And then now they're doing these big tours, these big festivals, and you're watching these clips and you're like, you got to start at those little small venues, get to work on your craft, learn how to perform, learn some breath control, learn how to actually perform. Like, sometimes they look like they're fucking scared to be on stage. So I think like that's the other thing. I think a lot of fans are just like, well, you're just not that good of a performer. I just watched your clip. Why would I pay these extremely crazy prices for concert tickets to go see somebody do a half-assed thing when I can listen to the album and be just fine?
No one ever had to get, there's woodshedding that goes on in those little places, like where the first Project Blow was heard, is the Good Life Cafe and stuff like that, in places we had in the Bay Area like La Peña, where you get booed by your peers or people aren't excited just because the beat dropped.
If
you know what I mean?
If you was whack at Project Blow, they would start hollering, "Please pass the mic," and everybody does like the, get off the stage. Like, no,
it was like the Apollo
in the middle, in the middle of your performance. If you was garbage, They was gonna let you know. And you know what? The host would be like, go work on it and come back. And some of those kids would go work on it and then come back. Get booed again, go work on it, come back, and don't get booed. So that's exactly true. Those were like the workshops, you know?
Yeah.
These are the workshops to develop your skill as an artist and also how to connect with an audience, how to perform,
Oh.
because sometimes your lyrics are good, but nobody want to hear that shit because you can't perform.
That's so true. And when you go back and watch some, especially like when you watch the OGs perform, kind of the older Gen X crowd,
they're so smooth. They're good.
Like, so I lived and worked in a music rehearsal recording studio in West Oakland, California called Soundwave Studios. So every genre of music was always in and out of there. And what I found interesting was when older rappers would come in, especially 90s eras guys, they would bring in live bands and dancers because they understood the show aspect of putting on a show for people, which I always found really cool and interesting whenever Black Alicious, if you guys know who Black Alicious was, rest in peace, Kif the Gab. When they would come in with like a live band, it was always really fucking cool because he was such a great rapper. But it added this really cool extra element of improvisation to what you're able to do with already recorded music that I think a generation that doesn't really grow up with that idea of performance understands, especially when you're always creating music by yourself in a bedroom. It really is hard to really wrap your head around how improvisation can look on stage, because why would you know what that is?
I see someone in the chat, Donald James X said, I would never boo anybody unless they're fascists on stage. So let me tell you something about these. I don't know how old you are. I don't know if you went to these hip hop spaces. You're supposed to boo. If they're trash, your responsibility, your obligation, and your duty is to get they whack ass off the stage.
But
so I just want to be clear.
That's why black music is so good, because we don't coddle people.
No.
It's the Apollo. That's the
listen. You want to get coddled? You go to church and let them tell you, bless his heart, let the Lord use you. That's where you get that. We're not doing that at Project Blow. We're not doing that at the hip hop spots. Like, you got to go. You're not praising God. Get off.
Hold on. Going back to church. Growing up Haitian, I don't really understand the nuances of Black American church denomination. I'm bringing it back to Kojic. I went to my first Kojic funeral. I don't understand what it was. Every random person is harmonized. I have never seen random people sing like that. That is the most incredible. I'm just going to talk going to random funerals if it's Kojic.
If they do altar call, it's a real Kojic funeral. If they do altar call at the funeral,
all I know is they were singing their asses off.
Did they tell you to give your heart to Christ and join their church? That's how you know it's a real Kojic funeral.
I mean, they might have said that, but I just couldn't believe just regular people just sang like that, like regular just in the audience. I don't even talk about the choir, just everyone could sing. I never seen anything.
You gotta join in.
My mind.
You are so funny.
Vita, can you sing?
So they make fun of me. They say I sing like Mary Poppins, so I don't.
That's so funny.
So I don't do that anymore. When they said everything I sang sounded like Mary Poppins. Everything.
So
R&B.
you're saying that when I show up Tuesday night in North Hollywood to do this book launch with my good friend Ben Burgess, that we can't have a post-show karaoke party, is what you're saying?
I'm not. First of all, I'm not going to North Hollywood. That's crazy far. Let's just.
That's out.
It's not even that. You know, it's funny. It's not even that far.
It's the traffic. You got to get on the 101 freeway, and I'm not doing that. So I wouldn't do that anyway. Even
I'm driving all the way.
I could have sang like Patti LaBelle, and I'm not going to North
I'm
Hollywood.
driving all the way from Mexico.
I'm so proud of you.
Wow.
See? I would rather drive to Mexico from South Central than drive to
3 hours
to North Hollywood. I don't go to the Valley. I don't like the Valley. I go to the Valley if I have to go. Well, I'll take that back. I go to the Valley to get my hair done. And then after that,
priorities.
That's
I don't go to the Valley.
And I only
never go to the Valley.
I don't, but I'll go to get my hair done because she charges less than they charge out here. So I'll go to her. But other than that, no, I don't fuck with the Valley. And I only go there and I go home. I hate the Valley. I don't think you understand the traveling there, the traffic. and the people are just, it's not South Central.
That's where I met the Black Eyed Peas in the Valley.
Okay. I'm sure they were there.
They might be at the thing.
Oh, there's a lot of theaters and stuff out there. A lot of celebrities out there. Some of them live out there. I think Schoolboy Q lives out in the valley somewhere. I'm good.
So if Schoolboy Q and Will I Am are at the thing, you're still not going.
They got to meet me out here. I ran into this is the thing. There's enough stuff on the other side of that hill. I'll go to Mid City. I seen Chance the Rapper. He kicked me out of his booth. I was talking shit to him. I didn't know it was his. I told him to get his drink off my table. He said, "This is my table," and they sent security come get me off the table.
He said, "Shut up, regular ass nigga."
Singing like Mary Poppins. Yeah.
If I give you a spoonful of this ass whooping.
I don't know why, but Chance the Rapper always looks like a Funko Pop to me. Like, I don't know. He's a strange looking dude to me. I don't know.
Is he over? Is that whole thing done?
Yeah.
It's done.
It seems like it's pretty much done. I think because he dropped a really bad album, and people were just like, "Okay, it was cool when you were a young kid doing fun stuff. What is this garbage?" So I think people just were over it.
Was he like the derivative of Common, where it was just like, "Ooh, this is kind of whack"?
I wouldn't put him anywhere near Common because I actually still like Common. He has.
You like Common?
Oh yeah.
You don't think Common's like a super lib?
I don't care. I don't really care. I don't care about anything. I don't care if Kendrick is a Black Israelite. I don't give a fuck about none of that.
Don't say Black Israelite 3 times. They've been coming. They've been looking for me. They've been looking for me.
Listen, I don't care about
Black
that.
Common is a talented guy who I can't stand to hear rap because he always reminds me of that dude back in the spoken poetry days. That was
exactly
like a dog.
How he raps.
He's like a dog, but he knows how to do enough spoken word to get laid. And you know him, and you're like, oh, you're so full of shit, dude. Like, these people don't know you. You're so full. I don't know. And he raps like an after school special now.
Like he's pretentious.
Yeah. But he'll be like, have you seen a commercial they did with Maya, the singer, and he's talking about
I hate that commercial.
Yeah, and he's selling Coke. And he's like, you gotta keep it real. And I'm like, dude, you're selling fucking Coke, man. Just stop it. Sell Coca-Cola. Sell your Cadillac.
So that was a big controversy too. Remember? They were like, you're selling out. I remember that.
Yeah.
But I have to ask you guys.
But you know what bothers me about it? It's not that he sells out. He tries to pretend he's not selling out while he's selling out. That's what bothers me. He'll be in the middle of selling out, and he'll be still talking about, like, he was selling like a Cadillac Escalades, and the whole commercial was him going to the hood and helping the kids and driving from community event to community event in an Escalade. Yeah, I'm like, dude, just fucking sell out. Just sell me the fucking Escalade. Stop pretending that you're doing it for the people. Like,
you've never driven an Escalade for the people.
Listen.
I want to ask you guys this question before we go. This is a very important question. This is a question that is very important questions. We're talking about hip hop. Can white people say the N-word if they're listening to a rap song?
Why are you even asking that? No. What?
Okay. I want you to see this white man. There's one of my favorite rappers. One of my favorite rappers. And if you guys are watching this show and enjoying it, there's a good chance by me being this ignorant and playing this that they might try to say we can't monetize it. But you have to watch this. This is very important. This white rapper right here, or this white guy is a Brother Lynch Hung fan. I love Brother Lynch Hung because the crazy shit he says, which is ridiculous, he says it with so much style. And Vita was talking about this earlier, where there's rappers she likes that says all the overt sexual stuff, but it's said with style and it's fucking cool. And I remember when I was a kid when this record came out and we were working with this one producer and he was playing it for us. And we were like, this is the coolest, funniest shit we've ever fucking heard in our lives. So do you know who Brother Lynch Hung is? Everybody on the panel?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
You New York people.
I know who he is.
Okay. Thank you, Trevor, for being a good man. Ready?
Funny when I hear Gen Z or just people in general, for that matter, being shocked by Eminem. It's like, tell me you don't know who Brother Lynch Hung is without telling me you don't know.
He probably gets his haircut at a black barbershop. I wouldn't doubt that.
Brother Lynch Hung makes
search vibes.
You get MC Search?
Yo, that is so accurate. And
You
his
get
tat-
MC Search vibes?
I
I'm
used to
looking
like
at his
Search.
tat on his thigh. I knew
This-
a guy who had a tattoo of Pimp C on his thigh. Anyway.
That's suspect.
Eminem sound like a Disney movie. Go pop in Season of the Sickness, but don't get it twisted. Brother Lynch Hung's flow, peak Brother Lynch Hung, 1995 through 1997 Brother Lynch Hung, is one of the dopest deliveries and flows in hip hop and rap history.
I agree with this man wholeheartedly, by the way.
I said it. You want to talk about confidence. You want to talk about being in the pocket. My man was insane with it. Coming straight out of Sacramento, California.
Now I'm the type of nigga that'll leave a horse head in your bed. Sleep with your wife, then commence the knifing. Get away clean with the scheme, Glock 17 in my lap as I creep away
Bro.
in the black Cadillac.
Notice how he doesn't say the N-word. He won't say it.
He's been well trained.
He will not say the N-word.
You know I got shit to do. Fake ID, cause I've been murdering motherfuckers like HIV as I creep real slow through your blood vessels.
Oh, you can't say that.
5 weeks later, nigga, God bless you. Now I'm stressed with the Smith and West. My music career ain't been the best. Bound to have my mama wearing a tight dress. Bitch, make my money bright. I get your throat slit and drug in the bushes as your inside gushes. Then I'm smashing through the night. Maserati with posse hitting corners hella tight. Nigga, you know I'm right. My mama top me, nigga, don't give a fuck.
Doesn't say the N-word. Doesn't say the N-word. Right?
Okay.
Why is he at 1991?
I would assume that's the year he was born.
He was born in
He
1991.
looks a little old to be born.
I would assume so.
He
He'd be
look older than
30,
me.
what? 33?
He looked older than me, so that's surprising.
Doesn't say the N-word. Right? Because you're not supposed to say the N-word. Right?
Even well trained, always had that shit beat out of
You
him.
think so? Or you think you just didn't want to say it?
Nah,
I think he just knew better.
been working.
Okay, now this rapper, do you know that?
White girls ain't tripping, boo.
He has a song called "Let the White Kids Say the N-word." So this is you guys can see
Why
this,
you
right?
do this to me this morning?
Vita.
Wait, you guys see this?
Yo, what?
See, I think that's more troll culture. Like
Does it feel
nowadays,
trollish to you?
Hmm?
Does it feel trollish to you?
Well, I feel like nowadays to stand out, you've got to go viral somehow. And if you had a song saying, "Don't let the white kids say nigger," no one would repeat that. 'Cause everyone's like, I agree. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got to do this song. This is why I'm with the internet now. Is like you've got to be this guy to be noticed. You know what I'm
But
saying?
the problem is, this is the problem I have, is somebody like this, and this, at least he doesn't rap poorly, but
Right.
these people do this troll shit and then they get legitimized. That's how Sexy Red came about. Everybody
Yeah.
told me, oh, she's just a parody, it's a joke, just a little internet troll. And now she's on actual albums, like with actual artists, like who actually can rap. She's on Glorilla's album, and Glorilla can rap. I like Glorilla's album.
Mhm.
Why the hell is Sexy Red on here? Like she can't rap. In fact, she takes the song down.
No, because you know what it is, man. This is what we've been calling eyeball supremacy, man. Like if you have eyeballs, people don't care anymore. Like why is Bill Maher having Haktua on this thing? Like what are you gonna talk to her about? And I'm not saying I'm a Bill Maher fan or anything, but he has better things to do than talk to her. But because people are looking at her and say Haktua, you've got to find a way. to put her on your-
She's got one of the best top leading podcasts.
Oh,
in the
I
country.
believe it.
Number 3.
It's number 3.
If you have eyes on you, that's all the justification anybody needs to have to entertain you.
But
You
does that
know-
change 15 minutes though?
Well, the thing is, you're able to build your own audience now. So it doesn't. So what would have been? You might not have the same mainstream success, but as long as you have that loyal following, you're going to be fine. And it's one of those things that I think is the benefit, also the curse of podcasting. I've been doing podcasting before there was a word called podcasting. Like the word didn't exist, right? And now I do this professionally. So it's interesting watching people who just pop up out of nowhere because they're able to tap into an audience. That's also the benefit, right? It's like, yeah, it's like you get these people like Haktua, but at the same time, anybody can actually make this little niche demo or this niche group and
But you know
profit
what?
from it.
It's not even just podcasts though, because you see all the actual major acts that brought her out for concerts. Like all these acts
Yeah.
The
had
legitimizing of it. Yeah.
yeah, and they did it because by having a show and I bring Haktua out, everybody's gonna post about my show. So they're not gonna post my show about because of the music. They're gonna post because X, Y, and Z band brought out Haktua at the start of a set, and it's just that's how everything goes now. If you have eyeballs, people will go out of the way to do something with you because everyone else is chasing eyeballs.
But does that mean your fame time is going to be extended? Because before, if you had any sort of internet sensation, right? If you were, I don't know, leave Britney alone. Like, I don't know if that cat has a podcast, but you know, I haven't heard about it if they do have one, because it's been quite a few years since that happened.
If that dude happened today, he'd be on the Tonight Show on the third day of it going viral. I think that's the difference. It would have stayed on the internet, but now like everyone debases themselves to chase what is like. Okay, someone like Hammer. Hammer sold so much stuff, and people would not do the music with him. People didn't want to work with him because they're like, oh, he's not my level of hip hop. Like that would never happen today. If today you could be Tekashi 6ix9ine, you could be Sexy Red. This person has eyeballs. Quick, get him on. You know, like the Rakima today will chase the Sexy Red today and try to get him on a song. Like eyeballs, I think just trump everything.
That's where the money is. You guys were talking about before how there was no money in streaming or making the actual music. So if this is like, how do I at least get eyes so y'all could buy something I'm doing?
Yeah.
I found her whole rise. I find the whole thing fascinating because, first of all, I didn't find her that interesting. I don't really think she's hot. I'm not a child molester because she's like 21 or something like that. And, you know, she was working at like a meat processing plant or something before this all happened. Quit her job, took meetings. I don't know if she moved to LA, but I wouldn't doubt if she was in LA or New York doing this show. Maybe she's doing it out of her home. I don't know. But to have a show so popular for someone that just hasn't lived, this is like another thing. It's like, what have you done other than spit on some guy's junk? You know, that's not enough to necessitate a show.
And her first guest.
So what'd you say, Toussaint?
I said she talked about spitting on something. She didn't actually do it. That's not how she got.
Well, what she did was, I think your comedian that you sent to me the other day, Toussaint, I think said something pretty insightful about her moment. She had a pretty human moment. One of these assholes that have a microphone and a camera and they shove it in your face after you're drunk at a club went to her and what do guys like? And she had this kind of gleeful human moment where she said what she thought what guys liked and then left. And all the conversation was about her, but no one knew who she was. They didn't know her name. There was all this made up shit about her being an industry plant. There's something kind of real about that moment that she has. She's definitely not an actress. That shit wasn't done in a major metropolitan area. So I can understand why she can become a bit of a quote unquote folk hero for 5 minutes, but still, what can someone like that offer for a podcast? And a lot of these things, we're running 3 hours right now. What is she going to talk about for 3 hours? Spitting on dicks? Has she spit on that many dicks to talk about dicks for 3 hours? It's a lot of dicks.
And what's crazy is the first guest was Whitney Cummings, who's like I'm not a fan of her, but she's an accomplished comedian.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. Like
I don't even know how she's an accomplished comedian. That girl is nowhere close to funny.
She's not funny at all, but she's accomplished. I don't get it either. She's had TV
That's
shows.
that white woman mediocrity thing people be talking about because that is.
And she couldn't wait to get on Haktua. You know, like she needs Haktua more than Haktua needs her. It's crazy. Like that those eyeballs. Like people are looking at this woman right now, and in this content saturated world, if I'm not visible 24/7. There's 500 things you're gonna look at. So I gotta find ways to keep in front of you all the time because like you can't disappear now. Like Will Smith used to disappear for months because he knew that there wasn't much to push him out of your awareness. But now him and his wife are doing Red Table Talk and he's doing motivational IG videos and stuff. And they asked him about it. He's like, yeah, I just gotta stay visible now. It's crazy.
It's crazy because you just can't live your life and do like regular shit if you're not constantly dancing for social media, which is kind of a sad state of affairs because everyone dances for social media. And what then happens when everything you do is about perception and it's not about just enjoying your own life? That's sad.
Isn't that what celebrity life has always been, though?
No,
Not like
'cause I
this.
think they could go away, and we didn't really know what they did.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Okay,
Like-
you're talking about just them not having to be themselves
Yeah.
present.
Or
Yeah.
having to be constantly visible all the time. Like Will Smith, you can look it up on Trevor Noah. He was talking about it. He was saying how they used to tell them not to show yourself too much because you want to build mystique. You know, it's a good place you can see it is the relationship between celebrity and tabloids. They used to have
Ooh.
a very antagonistic relationship
Yeah.
because the celebrities used to hide from the tabloids, and the tabloids used to go outside your house. They have to go through your trash, and you'd be like, you know, like Greta Garbo, I want to be alone. You know, you don't want to be. Now the fucking celebrities. I knew someone who worked at a tabloid place. They said the celebrities call the tabloids now and be like, "Yo, I'm gonna be here. Can you be there?"
Yep.
Or you see that when TMZ shows up, all the celebrities are happy to talk to TMZ. Like,
Well, you know where the TMZ is. You know where the TMZ spots are when you live in Los Angeles. It's not
Yep.
like if you
Yeah.
want to hide from them, you don't live in Los Angeles.
yeah,
Right.
people,
And you don't, and they go to specific hot spots. Like there's places they know where to go.
yeah, people seek out. People seek out. They stage their own publicity stunts. They plant their own rumors. Like it's all about access now. People chase.
But I don't think
the
that's
stars
new.
chase the paparazzi.
But that's not as new as you might think. Like I think it's more
That's fair.
viral now and it's quicker now. But because I told you I watch documentaries, I think I'll be playing. I
No,
watch
I'm
a
not
lot of
saying it's
Hollywood.
new, but I'm saying it's the dominant form. That's
Well, just so people know, though, I think so I watch a lot of old Hollywood documentaries. 90% of what we're taught about celebrities or been told about celebrities is a lie, and it was all
Sure.
publicity. Like the
Sure.
stories were false. Most like the people that they were in marriages with weren't actual marriages. Like it's all, or they were set up. Like all types of, and they would call the press or call the gossip blogs and the media, call Hedda Hopper and have them come down there and cover it. But I do agree, especially I think now, with online, everything turning around so quickly in media and everything having to be going viral, everything having to be fast. And then on top of that, TMZ having to fill that up, all that, like have their page full, have all these, and be able to touch on various types of demographics and communities. I do think it has become sort of like insane to the point where even celebrities think this is like their ticket in, or it is their ticket in, or their ticket to stay relevant. And it's kind of sad because like you literally, that's what they do. Like you said, they call them up and they'll even tell them what the story is. That's why I don't even believe celebrity couples at all. I just don't believe any of them until they get married officially. And even then, because sometimes they'll tell people, I'm going to be on at lunch with so-and-so, and they'll show up, take a picture of so-and-so at lunch with this other celebrity. Oh, they must be dating. Like all that stuff is to create stories and narratives for their press.
No, I agree. There's always been fictional stories, but this idea of never hiding, 'cause even the fictional stories was still a way to hide. Like you could feed him a fake story, but you'd run away to Palm Springs or something for like you still wanted your space, and you kind of needed your space to be an A-lister. There's no A, B, or C list anymore. There's nothing. Everybody is just one flattened thing now,
And there's more
no-
parasocial relationship with celebrities.
yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about parasocial relationships?
I like to call them parasitic
Whoa.
relationships.
What do people have parasocial relationships with you, Pascal?
Mm-hmm.
What say you?
They do. And I'm learning that. I'm learning that as the podcasting days go on.
You'd be surprised how many people love the crack.
What are you using over there? A Rodecaster?
Hell
how do
yeah, I'm using a roadcaster.
you just have them just queued up, just ready to rock?
Fuck yeah, dude. You know how many I have queued up?
So you got rid of all the other sounds it came with and replaced them with this shit? Like this is hilarious.
You know
That
what
is
else
a
I have?
great timing.
I have this.
Keep fucking with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
This is what we do here. We have a soundboard of a bunch of sounds that we can use for
I
fun.
love it. It's just I didn't think it's like the crack one, but that
That is from my favorite movie. It's from all the New Yorkers' favorite place, New York. It's a movie that no one saw. We showed it here on TIR Movie Night. It's called Fly By Night. You can find it on YouTube. I suggest all people who actually say they like hip hop watch this film. It is maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It was written by a white man who I think hates black people. Please watch this movie. I've never seen a movie like it because it makes no sense to me. This man leaves his union job to chase the rap. He tells his wife, who is MC Light, his wife is MC Light, in 1991 MC Light, so not now MC Light, with that fucked off kind of mushroomy cut MC
She
Light.
looked good to me. Don't hate on her. I love
That
MC
MC Light, right? And he tells MC Light, "Hey, honey, I can't come home anymore." She's like, "Why?" He's like, "I got to chase the rap," and he leaves his job to chase the rap with Daryl Chill Mitchell, where
That's
he
right.
meets this
Wait,
gangster
he
dude.
tells this black woman.
Yes.
Okay.
And then he gets with a white woman who he gets with her after he does a song about raping a woman, and she's sitting going, "Yeah, rape him." And so he then gets with this white woman and then starts performing in parties in Long Island. And it is, please, if I never talk to you people again, which I hope I do, because I like you people, and I mean that in every sense, black people, the Haitian part of it, the LA part of it. I want you to watch this film because I was so angry at a certain point, I start laughing because it's just so offensive, because there's nothing in that movie that any black person I've known, and I've known a few, got a few in my family, would do.
I'm looking at the
Yeah.
poster. I'm looking at the poster. I've never heard of this, and I was immersed in everything hip hop, even bad.
Right?
And
Yep.
and the fact that MC Light would have been in the movie alone would have put it on my radar, and I just cannot believe I've never heard of this one.
Dude, it is called that line.
You'd be surprised how many people love the craft.
Dude says that because he's supposed to be doing the gangster song, but his gangster song is a story rap about a dude that sells crack, and that is a line that he said in the song. And I was like, there's no one would ever say that in a song. There's a scene in the movie, because he's supposed to be so hard, that they have a concert, right? This is why, if you want to watch the movie, watch it for this scene right here. They're having so the guy chased the rap, and he has succeeded in chasing the rap. He also did something I've never seen people do. He auditioned for a rap group in some burnout project in the Bronx, where like a hate crime happens. So if you're scared about hate crimes, like the movie definitely has a hate crime in it. That's the most unnecessary scene ever. But anyway, they make it, and they're playing this big ass show, and the Nation of Islam is security. And that's like the only thing that was super accurate about that show. Like that does happen. But anyway, he does a song, and all of a sudden, one black person pushes another black person, and they all have to fight. And then there's two children, and I stress children, like 10 or 11 years old, watching the show. And a little girl is sitting on the little boy's shoulders. It's two children. And this dude picks up the little girl and sits her down, and then starts stabbing the shit out of the little boy.
Oh.
For no reason. For no reason. Because the words in the song incited a riot. You have to watch. This was called Fly By Night, starring MC Light.
Yes,
Please.
this was director. The director is a white guy, like super white. Steve Gomer.
That movie.
The
felt
writer
like-
is
yeah,
another white guy, Todd Graff.
Yes.
Like very white.
Yes.
So
He's also in the movie.
I am so. There's only one writing credit, and that's him.
And if you watch the movie, there's a scene where everyone starts to have sex for no reason, like outside in public, because apparently that's how New York is. People just fuck all over New York streets. You see Daryl Chill Mitchell's whole hog.
Oh.
Trevor's like,
I
that's not a
you're
selling point.
definitely not selling this movie at all. I see that it's on Tubi, which is already a strike against
It is
it.
on, just go to it's on you. You can go to YouTube right now, type in Fly By Night, and when that shit opens up to this dude rapping that song, you'd be surprised how many people love the crack. And I was like, what? The crack?
I know the crack is the best part of it.
Dude, all the songs in that movie.
That sounds like that's like a really bad undercover cop. Hey, you guys have any the crack?
Isaac says it sounds like a Michael Rappaport movie.
Michael Rappaport is too black for this movie.
Yeah. Even he'd be more authentic than that. Sadly.
MC Light's whole role, I think she improvised it with the director telling her different things every time. It is so funny. Like when the dude goes, honey, I got to chase the rap. She goes, if you leave the house, don't come back. And he's like, but why? She's like, because a black man is always chasing the rap. And she just starts telling him all this crazy shit about what black people do. And at a certain point, the dude kind of looks over at the camera because he doesn't know how to respond. Like, you gotta watch. Please watch this movie. I think you guys will enjoy
I'll
it.
consider it. We'll see. I have to watch it with somebody else who wants to watch it and wants to laugh or something because I can't see myself just sitting here watching it.
I watched it 3 times before I showed it to anybody because the first time I didn't think it was real. I thought it was a dream. The second time I had to take notes. I'm watching that shit like this Zapruder film. Look at that. Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
They're doing a drug deal on stage.
Remember I paused. I was like, right there, he's doing a hand-to-hand on stage. When does that happen? You have to. It's also the same crew from Juice. Apparently, the people that filmed Juice, once they wrapped with Juice, they said the next day they did Fly By Night. So there's some of the same characters, and I think they might even use the same club from when they did the DJ battle in Juice.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
is crazy.
Dude, Fly By Night. I kind of want to watch it right now again because it's so. Right? There's a scene. There's a scene in the movie where they're about to get a record deal, and the record label the owner is Jewish, and he gives him a Zionist speech on why niggas and hip hop are retarded, and Zionism is the true way. Tucson, am I lying?
No, you're not lying. It was very weird. It took a long time. It was out of place. And you're like, what am I watching right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were like, white man always trying to screw over the black man. And he's like, white man, Jews in this country. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing? They support real Jews in Israel. Dude, he goes off on this whole Zionist tirade on this dude. The main character talks super educated, but whenever he gets around white people, he starts talking like a slave. It is awesome.
Okay. I've heard enough. I gotta go to work.
You have to please.
Yeah, I gotta go to work, guys. We have today is Taste of Soul, the biggest black food and music festival on the West Coast. You gotta come through if you're in LA. It's huge. It's amazing. I'm gonna be there, so you probably won't find me because there'll be a million people there. But yeah, I gotta go.
Before you go, we have an important question to the black panelists, which is all of us. Your opinion on carrot raisin salad?
What is that?
I have no idea what that even is, but I just want to say the guy that wrote that movie you're talking about, turns out he wrote The Notebook. I just found that out while you were talking. It's crazy.
That's definitely a leap. So what qualifies him to make this movie?
That is wild.
His hatred for black people.
It had to be. That's crazy. The carrot raisin salad person. I thought that was an interesting question. Thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait! Oh, no, I have had this. I just Googled it. I had it a long time ago. The fact that I forgot it, I think, says it all.
Wow.
I mean, carrot and raisin in a carrot cake, I'm okay with that. But in a salad, that sounds a little. What is that? Is it
That
shredded
is one of my
carrots?
favorite things to eat, and people on this show think it's really funny that I eat it for myself. I don't serve it to anybody.
Let me look at this. It's carrot.
Do you put
raisin
pineapple juice?
salad?
Do you put pineapple juice in yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling real frisky, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I'll be honest. It didn't make a huge impact on me, but
hell
but
no.
it wasn't
Hell
terrible.
no.
It wasn't great. I remember having it and like being like, oh, this is okay. I never thought about it again. But I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either.
Vita is
I'm
angry.
offended.
Vita is angry.
So this isn't going to be at the Black Soul Food Fest.
It's literally shredded carrots
Yeah,
and raisins.
and mayo.
Oh my God.
Chick-fil-A. I think Chick-fil-A had it for a second.
There you go. Chick-fil-A knew what was up.
Well,
Yeah.
they're also white supremacists, so.
Well,
Yeah.
we all can't be fucking perfect, can we, Vita? Jesus fucking
Bruh,
Christ.
he's not lying. It's shredded carrots, raisins, mayonnaise, sugar, and milk.
I don't add milk. That is preposterous.
Well, it says 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk.
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that to anyone.
Oh, that's where you draw the line, not the mayo and raisins. Mayo and raisins, totally okay. Mayo, raisins, sugar, and carrots.
Yes.
You off of that. But
You can use
but
the
a
natural
tablespoon
sugar.
of milk is where you just draw the line.
That's blasphemy.
Bruh.
I
I'm sorry.
wouldn't fucking do that.
Where did you even hear of this? Like, how did you even? I've never heard of this till this.
My
very
grandmother
moment.
made it for me.
Your grandmother? Where's your grandmother from?
California. She's
What
from
part
Richmond,
of California? Richmond.
California.
Okay, maybe they do that in the Bay. I don't know.
Yeah.
They
Yes,
definitely do that in LA. I've never seen this in my life. So this is like a family recipe that you have.
It was like the Underground Railroad. It was like, before you go to the next spot.
This is like food that now that would make more sense. Like this is the food they needed to survive. It lasted through the migration or something like. But to eat this like now is crazy.
Can you imagine? Like that should have been part of Django. Like
That's
give them the carrot raisin salad for they are niggas.
Yeah, I had it at a white lady's house.
that makes more sense.
As a kid, and I remember having that. I was like, okay, this is weird, but I like raisins, so I just ate it.
This recipe on here is by Denise Beaumert in Dalhart, Texas, which I'm assuming is very white. Because what the
yeah,
fuck?
it's a suburb somewhere. Don't go to fucking Dalhart, Texas, but if you go to Richmond, California, I'm sure there's other black people that have eaten carrot raisin salad. I
promise you,
refuse
there
to
are.
believe.
I promise. This is your grandma learned this from the white people she knew somewhere and gave it to you. She was like, "This is all we got in the fridge. We're gonna make it work." And you
She did grow up with Portuguese people.
Oh,
so maybe
okay.
it's a Portuguese thing. Someone said this is what your single uncle made.
You know what's funny? I grew up when I lived with my dad, we were very, very, very poor, and there were definitely times when I just invented shit because we had nothing to eat. But it was shit that made sense, like bananas and peanut butter. You know, like it wasn't like carrots and raisins. Like I would have never.
No.
But we've created some stuff. I had cottage cheese and sardines before.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's all we
Sounds like
had.
some prison shit.
Listen,
That is worse.
you take what you can get. It was either that or one time I had these 99-cent store cookies, but I threw them up because I didn't have no real food. So my dad was like, we gonna get this peanut butter and banana and you gonna make it work. And that's all we had. Like it's just that's what this makes me think of. This is the shit you had in the you just scraped it up. We got a little mayonnaise left. We got some carrots left over from something else we made.
The unmeltable government butter.
The box of Sun-Maid you got left over from lunch. We're gonna make it work.
Dude, if you guys ever make it down to Mexico, I will make you carrot raisin salad.
I'll go to Mexico. I'm going to Mexico soon. Where in Mexico you at?
I'm in Baja.
Oh, I'll go over there.
Wow.
I go to like real Mexico.
What a racist. This is pretty fucking real.
I'm just messing with you.
When they shut my shit off, it's pretty real.
No, I'm going to Puerto Vallarta and Mazatlan.
Yeah, that's real fucking Mexico, right? Where everybody speaks English. Prices are in dollars. Yeah.
They take my card. They take my Chase
Fuck
card.
that. No.
Where in
I
Baja,
was
California are you? I've been to Ensenada. Is that Baja?
I'm a little north of Ensenada. I'm north of
Oh, okay.
Ensenada.
I went to La Bufadora.
I almost moved there when I first came here. I know
Really?
exactly
It looks
where
like
that is.
LA to me when I was there. It was like Slauson. Like, this is crazy.
That's why I like TJ. TJ reminds me of LA and San Francisco.
It looks like
all
Santee Alley.
nice.
It looks. I did not like Tijuana.
Santee Alley, the best part of Los Angeles, by the way. Anybody that wants to know, Santee Alley is the best part of Los Angeles.
Crenshaw is the best part of Los Angeles.
Don't listen to this woman. She's a liar.
Crenshaw is the best part of Los Angeles. No. And we're in the middle of building this great monument, an outdoor open air museum, Destination Crenshaw. We're going to make sure we benefit from all the things coming to the city. We're going to get this money. So y'all come out here when hopefully Destination Crenshaw will be finally built and y'all can see that shit. So
if you can't buy a bag of socks for $5.
Yeah, but you can do that anywhere on Slauson right now. Like you said, like I think people think Santee Alley is the spot. Vermont and Slauson. Homie.
Can I get bootleg Levi's?
You can get bootleg anything.
Okay, well you're speaking my language. Can I get a blood in, blood out T-shirt?
I don't know about all that, but we can get you a bootleg Walls Harris shirt. And remember, Melina Abdullah, who's running with what's his name? Cornell West. You know, she's out here. So, you know, they got some shirts for her too out in Lamert. So,
Are you being serious?
I'm dead serious.
Oh my God.
They just had an event with the Green Party, Socialist something party, and whatever their party is. And they're doing like the third party conference or something.
I am a fan of anywhere bootleg in touring the world. I ask where the bootleg spot is. So
I love that.
I love.
Why they be hating on that in New York? Like, to me, that's like, wow. I was
that's what New York is.
Canal Street and like, so these white people have been moving in and complaining about things. I'm like, isn't this the culture? Like, what is the problem?
Tucson, you got some bootleg Jordans right now?
Oh my God. Not right now.
She got her bootleg Gucci right now. What are you talking about? The bootleg Gucci slide.
The bootleg spot to me is a magical place.
Listen,
they all look the same. I don't give a fuck where in the world you are. Every bootleg spot looks the same. Every time I hear going to one, just the sun shines a little brighter.
I think the all-time best bootleg was Dapper Dan because he didn't even try to recreate what the companies were making. He just put Gucci and just made his own.
Just a fucking shit. That's why you gotta love Dapper. And look at it took him forever. Because he's like 1,000 years old and looks great for 1,000 years for.
Yeah.
But what is he, the head guy at Gucci now?
Yeah. Gucci started making his clothes that he made. Gucci started making his fake Gucci as their official, like real Gucci, which is like so surreal.
I thought that shit was fucking phenomenal. All that fake Dapper Dan shit all them rappers had back in the day. I thought that shit was the coolest shit in the world.
I would say it was flyer than anything Gucci actually had. So that's what makes it so dope.
Because you couldn't get it. That's what made it dope. Oh, dude, where'd you get that? Dapper Dan. So before we go, we have to ask the New York OGs, Trevor and Pascal, did you guys ever have Dapper Dan made clothes?
I could not afford Dapper Dan. I had bootleg Dapper Dan, which is
bootleg of the bootleg. Yeah, bootleg of the bootleg is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if Pascal remembers. I'm sure you do. I think it was in Gertz Mall, like near Gertz Mall. There was a guy who used to make his version of Dapper Dan. What Dapper Dan was just basically they were almost interchangeable clothes, but you could make them Gucci or make them Polo or whatever. And there was this dude, it's like an African cat who was making like his, but they looked really bad. I could afford that, but I wasn't gonna buy that. It just looked, the horse was all lopsided for the Polo, like But when like celebrities went to Dapper Dan, like rappers, Mike Tyson went to Dapper Dan, so it was still expensive, even though it was bootleg. Like it wasn't actually, cheap. Like regular folks went there. It was like drug dealers and stuff.
Right.
So that was
Pascal.
Nah, man.
You didn't wear anything bootleg?
I mean, you go to Delancey Street, you can get some bootleg stuff back in the day. and whatnot. So everyone wore some bootleg stuff.
Yeah, I wore bootleg. Just Dapper Dan's a whole different category.
So did you have a bootleg troop jacket? Is what I'm asking, Pascal.
No, I never had a troop jacket.
Yeah.
I had a real leather jacket that was very popular. A real leather jacket.
I like how he's answering you so seriously. Like,
Yeah.
bullshit and your bullshit antics. I'm with you. I fuck with that. Because he was just like, nah, that ain't what it is.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's fake. Shit is fake. Paying all that money for that bullshit. It's all made by the same exploitated labor. Give it a good goddamn. And on that note.
But if you want to give me some real ones, I ain't mad at you.
Wow. Wow. Well, you can't make the trip all the way to North Hollywood. I'd be happy with these bootleg fucking Jordans. Michael Jordan. It's not even Michael Jordan. It's Michael Jackson. It's Michael Jackson on the shoe.
Well, according to Twitter, all I have to do is sit in a restaurant and look over my shoulder 20 times, and somebody will pay for my meal and take me shopping. I saw it on Twitter.
Someone in the chat mentioned Viking shoes, man. That's a deep cut. I'm impressed. I need to know more about the Timothy Connors person. Y'all know Viking shoes? They were like bootleg Bally's. I had Viking shoes.
Bootleg Bally's.
Yeah. I had a pair of suede Vikings. Yeah, they look fucking terrible after a week. They were so bad. But
Pascal, what do you know about Viking shoes?
Never had them. I had actual
look at this nigga just telling you who he is. I had actual Bally's.
He don't play. He not playing with you. What part of this you not understanding?
Pascal had 2 living rooms.
There you go. Super Haitian.
Oh, you was rich.
Super Haitian.
Nah, man, that's a common thing in Queens households. You have the upstairs living room.
Oh, okay, that's a New York thing.
Toussaint says she was living like good times.
You got 2 living rooms out here. That means you live in large.
That's not my house.
Yeah, Toussaint, just looking out of the window. Double Dutcher with that plastic shit at the end of her brain.
Yeah, that was fucked up. Because I did not, See, what did you bring me to? Oh my God.
Thank you guys. Seriously, I love what you guys do, and I feel really, really honored to have you guys on the show with us. I mean that in all sincerity. I think in between the jokes, we did have a bit of a serious conversation that I hope people take this conversation in their own homes and tell us what you think about it. Where can people find you guys, Trevor and Vita?
Yeah, just Google Champagne Sharks.
It's literally like nothing else is called Champagne Sharks. You're gonna find us. You can follow me on Twitter. He's not on Twitter, but I'm on Twitter. Lifestar Media is my Twitter handle.
Is that a life with a Y?
No, it's LIFE.
Oh well, maybe if it would have had a Y, fucking. Maybe life would have been better for your ass.
I would have had 2 living rooms.
You would have had 2 living rooms like that. You over here living like Moesha. You could have been living like Cosby's.
First of all, Moesha was rich. She lived in Leimert Park. That's like that was like you gotta remember for us. That was like Moesha's rich. She lived in Leimert Park like that. It was.
She go out with that little nigga from Onyx.
Fredro Starr. I seen him in traffic court once.
Damn. Damn. That's the most fucked up LA story I've ever heard. I saw Fredro Starr in traffic court trying to fucking get his failure to appear knocked down to something more manageable.
It was funny.
Scream at the judge, nigga! Scream at the judge!
He talks and moves exactly how he does. Like when you see him, he moves like in court. It was just
God,
how he acts. He's basically like how he was in Moesha. How he talked, how he moved, all of that. He was doing all of that.
The evening in question, Your Honor.
That's exactly. Yeah, I mean, I can't talk. I was there to get hoping my cop didn't show up.
Yeah, like that ever happens.
He didn't show up.
Did you shoot him?
No, it was Long Beach, so they probably was busy.
You probably actually get paid. You didn't like do some Looney Tunes shit and fucking let the air out of his tire.
No, I was just speeding, doing my thing. He was hating.
It was a school zone. I was like, man,
it was the freeway. The fucking hater.
Dukes of Hazard, these speed bumps. Fuck them
Listen.
kids. It's L.A.
No, the
Sorry.
cops in racist towns, they show up. They tell you, I'm gonna show up. You be like, fuck. So Redondo Beach, I used to get pulled over in Redondo Beach and Torrance like every day because I used to be a nanny out there. And it ain't that many black people. And they would soon as see my black ass, they would pull me over and they would tell me I show up to court. I'd be like, fuck.
You should have acted Haitian like you were a foreigner. They would have let you go.
Oh,
In Redondo, funny enough, you're probably right.
Yeah, you just
Because they do not like black Americans at all.
just
Oh
act,
my
next time
God.
act Haitian, and then
I don't know how to
Well,
do that. I don't know what that
just
means.
sound like a Jamaican.
You gotta
They're all
remember, we
from
also don't have a Caribbean population like that out here.
No, I know. That's why
Like
all my
Agbelesian, that's the closest we got.
they all sound the same. Just hit them with a bummer cloud.
This is so racist. I hope my job don't see this. I love all people. I am very much, I love all my Caribbean brothers and sisters. I love my Central American brothers and sisters. Just want to be clear about that. His words do not represent me. That's
They
all.
don't. Just
Or my
remember,
employer. So.
they just represent me and my love for Adolf.
Speaking of which, y'all gonna be late for work. I gotta get to this taste of soul.
Hey, sorry. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back
Thank
Tuesday.
you.
What are we talking about Tuesday, Tucson? Do you remember?
no.
Fuck it. We'll be back Tuesday. We are out.
Out.